Did you ever think you would make it? I feel I'm so close I could taste sweet victory. I know this life meant for me. Yeah, why would you bet on Goliath when we got Bet David? Valuetainment, giving value's contagious. This world of entrepreneurs, we get no value to haters. How they run, homie, look what I become. I'm the one.
Okay, so today's guest, for those of you that know him, he doesn't need an introduction. You love him, you hate him. It's so funny. I was asking one of the guys in here. I said, "So Andres, what do you think about Alex Jones?" He says, "Well, based on the viral clips I've seen, he looks like he's crazy based on some of the stuff that he says." He says, "I don't know much about him. That's all I know. What the media says about him. This is a guy that doesn't follow politics." The last time you and I were together, I think it was a day or two after you had gotten banned. We sat down in Austin. It was a different kind of a conversation we had in Austin. It was you were eating apples. If you remember, you were biting that apple. It was an intense conversation we had. But it was a good one.
And it was late in the evening. I'd been up from since 5 a.m. I was exhausted, but it was a good discussion.
Yes, and I'm glad we're able to do it now. Obviously, that's 4 or 5 years later since the last conversation. We got a lot to cover with you. It's so interesting with the timing of it right now. Is with what's going on with the Wagner Group or Wagner Group
Wagner and
with Russia, with what's going on there, we'll cover
number
that.
one story across the world.
Well, I mean, this could lead to nuclear war very easily. That's why I'm glad we're actually in a vault with 5 foot thick walls.
We're safe here.
We're
safe here.
You're in a safe
zone.
spot.
The rest of your crew will die out there of a nuke hits.
We got that story. We got RFK comments he's made, and I know you're a fan of some of the stuff he talked about. We'll get into that as well. Bohemian Grove, some of the things with that maybe a lot of people have no stories of it, but we'll head it again from a different angle. Then Navy confirming they knew the sub was going down. I think Coast Guard knew as of last Sunday, but none of us knew about it. We're thinking, hey, 40 more hours, all this other stuff. We'll talk about that. Karine Jean-Pierre's questioning this last, I think it was even yesterday.
It was yesterday. It was amazing.
Back and forth, and she just didn't want to answer any of it. I think even Kirby got involved. Kirby
walked off.
Yeah, he walked off. A prediction you made March 8th of this year that came true. We'll play that clip. And we got a few other things. But this is the first thing I want to talk about from my standpoint. So Sandy Hook. We're not talking Sandy Hook. What I want to talk to you about is they came out, if you can pull up this article, with a fine of, Sandy Hook families want Alex Jones to pay up $2.75 trillion in damages as he seeks new trial. So here's a question I got for you. Either you're the richest man in the world and we don't know that. How do they collect that kind of money? How do they come up with a number like this to collect from you?
And then they run articles in the New York Times saying Jones refuses to pay. How am I? That's the GDP of Scotland.
Jones refuses to pay.
More than that.
Or France, I think.
Actually, India's GDP is exactly $3 trillion. So they want you to pay India's GDP.
Which is 1,500,000,000 people.
Yeah.
And they say, why does he laugh? Well, here's the thing. I was found, this is very interesting because this is a new thing. If you wonder why Fox settled Dominion for $700 and something million right as the trial started over questioning the election, which we're not doing. Obviously, all elections are free and fair, and Biden's the greatest president ever. I'm serious. I love him. And the shots are wonderful. Take them all. Take hundreds of them.
Yeah.
But seriously, GMO's wonderful. Glyphosate's wonderful. Hunter Biden's great.
Yeah.
Anyway, I love his laptop. It's very entertaining. No, but seriously, what was I going to say?
No problem.
What they do is they, in certain jurisdictions like Austin and areas of Connecticut and D.C., they go in, and this was in the case with or Delaware with Fox, and the judge defaults you. The judge defaults you and says to the jury, you're guilty. Well, the judge didn't call the default in Dominion with Fox. The judge said, I'm saying you're guilty and you did lie about the election, and I'm going to tell the jury that. We're going to start it from that point. So she did a soft default with them. That's when they went, whoa, we settled. Well, with me, they did a hard default, said I gave them no information. No, I gave them 4 years of stuff, gave them everything they wanted, and then they had no case because I never made up any of the stuff that they said that I said, and I couldn't put a defense on. The jury's only heard I'm guilty, now decide how much. Then they put financial experts on that never examined our books, didn't want to look at our books, and said I was worth $400 million. At the time of that first trial, I had about $2 million in the bank. and then some real estate.
That's it?
Yeah, it's all lies. It's all lies. Sure, I've had gross sales of $60 million before, but when you're selling, water filters and you're only making 30% on them because you give them a good price, yeah, I mean, I've sold $10 million of water filters a year, and then and then we end up after everything, getting a couple million, and then I probably get a couple $100,000 out of that. So you know how business is. You don't get the gross amount. And so they look back over the fact that we made, I mean, probably like $600-700 million in the last 10, 12 years. And they just said, look, he kept $400 million. And then the juries went, well, fine, then give him $1 billion. And then they went back to the judge and said $1.5 billion in Connecticut's not enough. They said, and that's why it's in Bloomberg. This is not a joke, folks. They said, well, no, we want $2.75 trillion.
How did they come up with that number, though?
They gave an FBI agent who I'd never heard his name, never talked about him. They had none of me on air, none of my crew, no articles. He's listed in the lawsuit from Connecticut. First time I ever read his name, and he got $90+ million from me. And the law says in Connecticut and Texas, you can't sue somebody if they didn't say your name. The judge just waved it and said, we don't care. Look it up. He got $95 million. I'd never seen him, did not know his name till I get the lawsuit and I Google his name. And he said on the stand, he got one phone call at his office to make sure he was really an FBI agent. And he said, and that was because of me. I didn't even know who the guy was that called. Then the guy that called his office showed up at the court, and I found his videos on YouTube, just a polite guy calling up saying, hey, people say this didn't happen. I'm just calling to check you're really FBI agent. And the jury said, $90-something million, you got one phone call.
Jeez.
I want to get one of these phone calls if I get $90 million for it.
Alex, these numbers seem outrageous, whether it's $500 million, $1 billion, $1 trillion.
And by the way, the media will say I'm denying it. 4 years ago on your show, I said I thought it happened. I said it 7 years ago, I thought it happened.
But here's my question.
The media just went and took a few things out of context and blew it up.
Here's my question, Alex. Whatever the outrageous number is, you're saying you were never even worth anything close to that. All right. You filed for bankruptcy after that, right?
Yes.
So walk me through the process.
The judges wouldn't let me tell the jury. The judge of Connecticut said 6 months in jail, contempt. She gave me a list of 20+ things. Cannot say I'm innocent. This is on TV. Mm-hmm. And they would cut away at those points. Cannot say I'm innocent. Cannot say I'm in bankruptcy. And cannot present sworn federal documents and my bank accounts. Which you go to jail if you lie in bankruptcy.
Yeah. So now walk us through what happens when you're bankrupt for $1 billion or $1 trillion. What happens then? I
mean, it's like if somebody says, I'm going to shoot you once, I'm like, please don't. I'm going to shoot you 5 times. I'm like, please don't. We're going to shoot you 500 times. You're just like, that's ridiculous. I mean, okay, 10 times and 500 times. It becomes preposterous, and it just shows the excesses of the hysteria that's going on.
Does it preclude you from making more money now? How does that work? I generally don't understand when you file for bankruptcy and you're quote unquote owed $1 trillion, whatever the outrageous number is. Do they seize your assets? Do they seize your bank accounts? How do you even pay this?
I mean, here's the thing. I've never lived super opulently. I mean, I got a nice car, house with a swimming pool, and I can get a good steak for $50. I mean, I've never. I used to take the money we had and put it into advertising and promotion, and buy ads everywhere to promote my show because I wanted to get the word out. And so it was really just an engine of getting the word out. I was trying to make a bunch of money to build the media infrastructure. That was my real goal. And then
but just like any business, that's the goal of the business,
is to grow the business.
Revenue. We get that.
Yeah, and then the mission. But I wasn't doing it as a business. It was a business to make money to get the word out. And it's fine to make money, but my real motive was always to expose the globalists, not have World War III, have sovereignty, have a good country for my children, a good world to grow up in. And I was exposing interesting, crazy things that I knew about and having fun while I was doing it.
No, but that doesn't really answer the question, because I understand your motivation to make the money. How do you repay the money, the quote unquote $1 billion?
Oh yeah, well how
does that work?
Sure,
actually?
I mean that's a prima facie answer. Obviously, I don't.
Okay.
I mean, just said I mean, the court has said I can be paid if I want to stay at Free Speech Systems and let it keep going. $1.5 million a year right now. Well, my legal bills are over $1.5 million a year. It's
crazy.
So I basically work for free now. I have my house; it's homesteaded, and that's basically. And so I've run out of money, and that's a big question. And they've now admitted, the lawyers in both cases in Texas and Connecticut said on the courthouse steps, our goal is not to get this money. Our goal is to silence him.
Yeah. So if you do you know Joe Louis's story? What happened to him at the tail end of his career?
The boxer,
the boxer. So Joe Louis, the IRS came after this. If you just type in Joe Louis, IRS poverty. If you just type that in. So
It's an incredible story.
Yeah, it's an incredible story. This is a guy that's a legend. Go to the second one, Claremont Review of Books. It's a New York Times story I'm looking at here. This guy had, the IRS came after him so much that eventually he's like, dude, I can't pay this back. And then the way Joe Louis's career ended is he was in Vegas. He got hired by his friends. They gave him a place to live. They gave him food. And all he did is greet people when they came in. This was a form of shutting somebody down. And, hey, just go sit there. You know, the whole thing about shut up and dribble.
Shut up and dribble. It's because he was a Republican.
Joe Louis.
Well, that's kind of where I was going.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I mean, for people, because I've read the stories, I want to read the book, but I knew about there's even like documentaries even on History Channel that I saw like 20 years ago. So this is not debated. He basically donated all his proceeds, when he beat the famous Nazi and all this stuff, to the U.S. government and to the military, and you can get all the finer details there because I haven't read the story in years. And then the IRS came back and said, well, actually, you owe taxes on that gift to the troops and to all of this and to the military, and then hounded him and said, if you just stop being a Republican, we will drop all of this. And that shows how dirty the Democrats have been all along.
If you can stay on that, Rob, right there. So during the war, Louis fought 96 exhibition matches before more than 2 million troops. He also donated more than $100,000 to the Army and Navy relief efforts. He reached the ranks of sergeant in 1945, the Legion of Merit for his contributions. Anyways, they came back to this guy. The story's a technical story.
Taxes.
Yeah, to back taxes, to just silence him and say, just don't do anything. So my question is, okay, with him, back then, they had their reasons. Why do you constantly find yourself getting in trouble? What is it about Alex Jones? Some will say, well, they're afraid of what Alex has to say because Alex is exposing them. Did you see what Alex did? Alex talked about 9/11 in July, and it happened 4 months later. How did he know, that this was going to happen 2 months later? How did he know when he talked about it in the video? How did he know about this, and how did he know about that? Some of the stories with the Skull and Bones Society you've talked about, the big pharma on the government, the cashless society, the government surveillance, Epstein, high profile. You've talked about all that stuff, and then some of the stuff with vaccine got you in trouble with, Sandy Hook, with the pizza, with all these other things. But why do you think they are trying to do this to you? 2.75 trillion. When even a regular person hears it, they're like, "This is ludicrous, ridiculous type of numbers." What do they fear the most with you?
Well, I've made mistakes and I've gotten some things wrong, and I never did it on purpose. And then what they do is it's like having a magnifying glass or a microscope at a grain of sand. It looks like a mountain when you look at it. So they blow up these things on my timeline, and what they did is that we now know what happened. They tried to censor us and block us and stuff over the years because we broke a lot of big stories, did a lot of great research, had a lot of great guests on, and broke a lot of original important news, and our accuracy was way above 95%. And then Trump comes along, and when we went to the RNC in Cleveland, and about a third of the people that showed up in the streets, I'd say about 50, 60,000 in the streets, that's outside the convention, we're all wearing InfoWars shirts and Alex Jones shirts because we'd had a lot of shirts going out. We'd sold like 300, 400, 500,000 of just one shirt about Hillary for president, but we sold it at cost for $5. And so there was, I'd say 10,000 Hillary for prison shirts there. And there were thousands inside. And so you've got all these reporters there. There's no counter demonstrators.
Can you pull up those shirts, Rob, so we can see what it looks like? Oh, keep going.
And so all there was, and of course the news reported on this. They're like, there's a sea of InfoWars shirts and a sea of Hillary for Prison shirts. And then when Trump won, they'd already started the Russiagate investigation saying everybody was a Russian agent. So now we know it's been declassified that they said I was a Russian agent, Trump was a Russian agent. It was all fake. And then they were able to declare national security. This came out in Congress 3 months ago and put the CIA on us. So the CIA through law firms and through PR firms, they've now bragged after the cases about this. They had a big Time magazine article about it, and they had and then the PR firm's one of the largest in the country, just got bought by the biggest. They do the PR for the UN. After the judgments, they went, okay, we did it. We're the geniuses. We're the best. We went and found something that made him look bad, blew it up, had the media all report it, and then make it hurtful to people, but it was them blowing it up. Then demonize me, say that I was Trump's right-hand man to demonize Trump. and then basically set the precedent that if they could take me down, they could then take everybody else down. That if folks allowed me to be taken down, they also mentioned Julian Assange in the documents, if they could shut him down and have the left agree with it and have the right agree with me being shut down, it would set the precedent to knock down all the dominoes. So I was chosen just as the archetype of, see, it's good, we're going to censor him. And then as soon as they were done with me, they moved on to everybody else. And so I was just chosen as the test pilot for this.
Alex, upbringing. Let's go back to 10 years old, 12 years old. Everybody has an influence, right? For me, my mother's family, they were all communists. My dad's family, they were imperialists. For you to be this much of a true believer, what was the conversations like at the kitchen table with mom and dad? What did you guys talk about?
Well, there was full mobilization in the Cold War across the country, but particularly places like Texas and the South. And so, I mean, I would go to family reunions, and it was like a Soldier of Fortune convention. And so a lot of the family had been, obviously in World War II, Korea, Vietnam, and a lot of them had been, operatives in the CIA and things like that. But to me, you're a kid, and when the family reunion's going on, I'm just, getting on a four-wheeler and, taking a shotgun off and shooting birds. I'm not, hanging out with all these old men. And then a lot of family on my dad's side that had done stuff for the government in operations, not just around the world, but here. And because back then it was all human intelligence. By the 90s, it went to digital stuff. But before that, you had to have a lot of muscle on the ground, a lot of people. For people that don't know, the Army, all over the world, but also in the U.S., would go around and, kill people. It was like extrajudicial. Senators would sign off on letters, and then they'd send usually Army officers off to kill people. So like when you see the movie, what's that movie with all the great actors, Apocalypse Now, where they have the Army captain and then they're sending him to kill Colonel Kurtz. That's a fictional story, but that's actually how it works. The biggest hitman group in the United States or the world would be like Army officers. Like that, you think like, the Italian mafia's got 100 hitmen. Well, they've got 10,000 hitmen. So, and then my dad had a guy he called, like his uncle, but he's really just a cousin, 10 years older, that lived across the street. And he only told my dad about this later and stuff, but that was one of his jobs. And then my mom's brother had been an Army officer, and he was involved in Iran-Contra and a bunch of black ops, but he was involved in like being in charge of things, building airfields in Central and South America. And so he was the one that really told me about all this stuff. And then my dad had got recruited into the academic arm of this stuff, and was like above the CIA in like Plan 2 at University of Texas when he was like 14, 15. He was already going to the University of Texas because he was winning all these awards and had top perfect score, and his mom thought he was going to, when he was like 14, to take tests to be in NASA and Eisenhower's Whiz Kid program, but it wasn't a Whiz Kids program to be in NASA. And so my dad got into that for a while. He never told me what he did. And he decided like to get out of it and just be a doctor at a certain point. But the house was just full of all those Zbigniew Brzezinski books and Henry Kissinger stuff and just world politics and, just military manuals and just stuff everywhere. And my dad was just always voraciously reading. And so I just grew up basically around all this stuff. And it was particularly my mom's brother, who died about 9 years ago, a really smart guy, who got out of it. And then when he was dying of pneumonia, last time I saw him, I thought he was going to live, and he was dead a week later. He just said, well, I want you to know the stuff about them trafficking kids is true, and that's why I got out of what I was doing in Central America, because they were smuggling kids out of orphanages and doing terrible things with them, and we just knew about it.
This is your mom's brother, uncle.
My mom's brother.
Yeah.
And of course, remember, this is 9 years ago, before all the migrant crisis and the kids and the current smuggling. He was seeing it down there, and he said he and a bunch of his guys got out of it. Some of the guys he was with, the government killed.
And what was his background, your uncle?
He was a helicopter pilot in Vietnam. Okay. And mainly delivered special forces troops into Laos and places. And he worked for him. My mom doesn't like me telling this stuff because he told her about it, didn't tell me. And she says, it's embarrassing the family. But he was doing whatever he's told in Vietnam, and it was smuggling opium.
Your mom and dad, when they saw you when you first got into, you've been in the space of InfoWars, in which you've been doing for how long? 30 years, 28 years, 25 years?
29 years.
29 years. Okay. So when you first got in,
I was 20 years old.
You were 20 years old. Okay. So what was their initial reaction to it? Was it like, Alex, what are you doing? And it was we believe in you. We agree with you. You're talking too much. Relax. You're going overboard. What was their reaction to this when you first got started?
My dad, for the first 5, 6, 7 years, was just sometimes say, you need to be careful what you're doing, and you could get killed doing this. And he said, One time he said, I can have you talk to some people and get you out of this right now. But I said, the government's bad. He said, they are bad. They got to do bad things to protect this country. They're in charge because they're smart. And they're smarter than us.
What a thing to say.
And yeah.
They got to do bad things to protect the country.
Yeah. And well, because there's bad guys, and so we have
totally
to
get it.
Yeah.
Totally get it.
And we have to fill the place of the bad guys so they don't control that space. Okay, you understand?
We got to fill the space of the bad guys so they don't control that space.
Yes, that's all Zbigniew Brzezinski, Harvard, Straussian, injustifies the mean stuff. This is really the philosophy there, but they're really the bad guys. And then about 6 years into it, my dad came and apologized. He said, "No, you're right," and because the system wasn't that bad, as on the surface 25 years ago.
Yeah.
But then after he was, "No, you're right," and like his cousin, would do stuff like I'd be over there for coffee like once or twice a year, and he'd go, "Yeah, I've been reading some of the stuff you're doing. You better be careful. They're gonna kill your ass." And I didn't even know at that time that's what he did. I mean, I'm sitting there with an army officer that,
So let me. I'm trying to get the dates right here because 29 years ago makes it 1996. Is it fair to say you started in 1996?
No, I started in 94.
94. Okay, so
and Wikipedia is all wrong.
29 years ago.
Wikipedia is all wrong. It says InfoWars started in 2019. That's just the way the internet registers it. Once I transferred it, it started in 1997. I got the website.
Perfect. So 1994, you get started. 6 years later, your dad is saying you're right. Is this pre you saying what's going to happen to the towers or what's going to happen? There's an attack that's going to happen in July. Was it pre that event, or did your dad say, I agree with what you're doing post that event?
No, he said he agreed with me right before that.
So pre 9/11, he agreed with you.
Yes.
And then what did he say to you after 9/11 when you're like, Dad, this is what's going to happen? I'm assuming you're talking to your mom and dad and like, hey, Alex, you sure about this? You just that's a pretty outlandish claim you're making. And then boom, 9/11 happens. What's that immediate conversation like? And the reason why I want to focus on parents is because my influence is my mom and dad. So it's kind of like there's, as you're making these types of claims, and let's just say you're on a crusade. I think in your mind, you think you're on a crusade, right?
Definitely a crusade.
You can't trust a lot of people. There's only a few people you can trust. They can let your guards down and just talk to them. I would assume your mom and dad are in that.
Oh yeah, they were always good people. They weren't villains. But my mom, has a degree in history. They were just always into this stuff, and they believed in America. And it's like a naiveness that we do some bad things because. We've got to, beat the bad guys.
So they were more from the standpoint of, Alex, you got a million other things you can do. You're smart. Why are you doing this? This is not the life you want to live. Is it kind of like that message or no?
It was, we don't want you to get killed.
Okay,
I mean, they knew, they're like, look, you're young and yeah, the system's bad. People try to work in it to fix it. And you need to be it was mainly, you just need to be careful. I mean,
what was the first claim you made? Where the first one where people are like, oh shit, this guy's up to something. That was kind of weird. What's he talking about? What's the first thing you said that became a reality that at first everybody fought you on it? Because we have this one. If you can play this one here, this is July 25th of 2001. Okay.
And whose family builds all the
Go back.
military.
Go back. There you go.
Threat like a bin Laden, who was a known CIA asset in the 80s, running the Mujahideen war, and whose family builds all the military bases over in Saudi Arabia right now, and sits on the board of Iridium Satellite. He's the boogeyman they need in this Orwellian phony system. A big part of this solution, after you research all the government terrorism and check out what I'm saying is true, call the White House and tell them, we know the government's planning terrorism. We know Oklahoma City and World Trade Center was terrorism. We know the Joint Chiefs of Staff wanted to blow up airliners, Baltimore Sun. If you do it, we're going to blame you because we know who's up to it. Or if you let some terrorist group do it, like the World Trade Center, we know who to blame. And if there was an outside threat like a bin Laden, who was a known CIA asset in the 80s.
So you say this, pre it going national.
And by the way, I did a 2.5-hour show that people only have that clip. It's in one of my documentaries. I need to find it and re-upload it to the web because when they took it on my YouTube, it all got erased. That's a copy of a copy of a copy. I did 2.5 hours specifically saying they're going to blow up the World Trade Center. Call the White House, tell them don't blow up the World Trade Center. So I'll find that full clip this week because it needs to go up, and I'll put it back up.
Yeah, and by the way, we have your permission to use your clips.
Anything you want. It's all free to air.
So okay. So when you did that, what is the reaction from that to 9/10? Like we're like, what are you talking about? That this is going to be happening? You must be losing your mind. Like, what was the reaction people gave when you first said that?
Well, it's funny. I mean, I already had a local radio show in 2001, and I'd been fired off local radio, so I was doing it out of my house, but it was actually on satellite and on probably 100 stations by then. But this is pre-YouTube, so if I wanted to be on TV, I'd use the studio as a local access station. So that's a 2.5-hour live show I did one night, a few months before 9/11. And what was the question?
No, what I'm trying to say is between this, when you make that claim.
Oh, I remember the question. I remember.
Pre 9/11, during that 2-month period, what's the reaction from people to you? And then right after 9/11 happens, what do people say about you?
Sure. What happens, I was kind of going back in my memory and then trying to find exactly, and that's why I was just kind of tracing back to the point, because then once I remember one thing, I remember the rest. This is a crazy story. Okay. So I would do live shows once a week there, but we'd turn a tape in that they'd air like 10 more times on average. So I shot this live, turned the tape in at Access TV, and on the night of 9/11, the 2.5-hour show aired. Wow. And I got death threats and everything else because they thought I was saying that day that the government had done it when I was saying July 25th. But later, the date came out, people figured it out. So people were completely freaked out. They didn't know what was going on. A little bit after this happened, they sent some FBI agents, in like as plain clothes to the access station one night when I was there trying to talk to me and stuff and asking me questions. And, hey, what do you know about terrorists? Do you know anything about like, teams or teams of people? And I'm thinking, oh, you're an FBI agent. Well, I don't know what you mean teams. They were trying to imply like I had terror teams or something. I guess this struck a nerve. So they sent in a couple FBI agents. But I was on my radio show. We ought to find the archives of that, saying they're going to do it, because I could see the pre-programming where they're saying terrorists are about to hit, and when the terrorists hit, you've got to give up all your rights. And we're going to have troops in the streets and blah, blah, blah. And I saw a couple of globalists, Gary Hart and one other guy, on CNN. And this is right before I went on air and did this. And they were basically saying life's about to change. The world's about to be completely different. We're going to have to take your rights away. Terrorists are about to hit. And I saw articles in the local paper saying that. I saw the pre-programming, like a rollout was happening. And I knew that Islamicists had hit the towers in 1992. It was a real attack, but the FBI had cooked the bomb, allowed them to do it, protected them, blocked Ahmad Salam, the Egyptian.
Is this proven? Is this?
It all came out, yeah. And I've interviewed Ahmad Salam.
Can you pull that up? Go ahead, keep going.
Type in Ahmad Salam recordings, World Trade Center bombing. And so he gave a press conference where he recorded the FBI telling him, no, we're going to let the bombing go ahead, because he thought they were trying to set him up. And then and it did go forward. So I already knew about this. I had a lot of data and a lot of information feeding into. I thought they would go back and try to bring down the World Trade Center a second time, because in criminology, that's what happens. And they did have people on airplanes, and they were Islamicists, but it turns out they were CIA with double passports and were being protected. And they thought they were taking part in a hijacking drill that day. And then what really happened is they nerve gassed the people on the planes, from the best info we have, then remote controlled them into the towers. And then another one was supposed to hit the Pentagon, but people... despite the fact, and they have the stewardess recordings where they're saying, I can't breathe, there's gas. That's what's really happening again. But before they could do that, a F-16 put, and that's in the FAA recordings, put 2 AIM-9s into it and shot it down over Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I was in the United States Air Force while all that was happening, and I was on a shooting team. And 2 days before the competition, one of my sergeants, and I'm not going to say his name, was like, hey, well, Shauna, because I was the best shooter, Alex, he's like, the competition's canceled. And I was like, why? 9/11 happens, and then we were warned. Rumsfeld went in front of the White House, and he was like, something's happening with terrorism. He kind of warned us. Condoleezza Rice warned the mayor of, was it Chicago? Don't fly to New York this day. And then you nailed it, Alex, when you were talking about Osama bin Laden. Every flight in the entire United States was grounded. There was a couple F-16s circling. The only commercial flights that were left from here flew to Ramstein, Germany, and it was Osama bin Laden's entire family.
They flew them all out. And that was on local Miami news. They flew them out of here.
Yeah, 100%.
Or just north of here. So, and there's video of it. But it gets worse. What I'm saying, there's thousands of pieces of data. They didn't find one. They found 2 hijackers' passports unburned in that whole explosion. So you got 10 feet of dust everywhere, billions of papers, but those get found the next day. Believe that? So and it goes on for days. But I interviewed the former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff right before he died about this, and a bunch of other people. And they told me before it came out a few years later that all the top generals were supposed to go to New York that day for a big meeting. They got told not to go. And remember, the Pentagon asked InfoWars leaders a month before, about 2 weeks before. You pull these up in articles. That's all that corporate executives, get approached to be part of Homeland Security before they announce that name, and infrastructure protection and the whole shadow government program. They flew them to Offutt Air Force Base. Was that the one? It's just from memory. It's just ancient history. They flew them all to an Air Force base and had them in a hangar when the attack was happening, and closed the doors and gave them some secret briefing. Mm-hmm. Look up business leaders, billionaires flown to Air Force Base in 9/11. It's all up there. And this is such ancient history. I haven't gone over this in years. I should write a book on 9/11 and go back over it all. I mean, it is just insane.
If you could break down all the conspiracy theories regarding 9/11, true, false, this, that, the other, and if you can break it down to the lowest common denominator of who was involved, the motivation, what actually happened, what transpired more than meets the eye, how would you break that down in as few words as possible?
Well, what we have is perception management going on. And so this submarine thing, the Titan and the Titanic, all of this is a great window into this. I don't know what really happened there. We know we're being lied to. We know the Navy and the Coast Guard have incredible sonar. That area in the Atlantic's heavily covered because of nuclear submarine stuff. And they know the signature of an imploding vessel. It's been studied heavily. And they also know the sound of it hitting the bottom. I mean, they can hear somebody thumping on the side of a submarine 3,000 miles away. And they've got signatures. There's been hundreds of billions of dollars put into these acoustic sonar systems and other things. And they've got even more advanced stuff like that deals with these giant antennas they've got strung out that are sending waves to the earth. It's beyond sonar that pick all this stuff up. It's insane. And so they knew exactly when it imploded. They knew they were dead. They knew about the wreckage. And the commander said, we reported it. It's not our job to talk to the media. And they decided not to tell you. Yeah. And so they just decided to leave it out there as a distraction with all the Hunter Biden stuff coming out. Just like they indicted Trump, Jack Smith did the day the last big tranche of Hunter Biden stuff came out. So don't let a good crisis go to waste. Were they in the submarine? They really die? I mean, we get lied to so much, who knows? And am I going to get sued for 2.75 trillion? I mean, all I know is I'm saying I've been lied to so much. I don't know, but I know this. My phone blew up, my text messages. I've never been asked in a short period of time, so many times since Monday, what do you think really happened with the submarine? And that shows people don't buy it. And almost everybody says, I don't think anybody was on it. Or I think they knew they were already dead. I was hearing this on Monday. And, they're already dead. They know they're dead. They're just going to have this like the boy in the well. And so everybody focuses on it. And I'm like, I don't know. So I didn't comment until Friday, because what I've learned is they spin when I just question and war game something and then say, look, he says nobody died. And they'll go to the widow, one of the submarine guys, and go, look, he's up there making money saying nobody died. And then they'll I mean, literally that's the model. But what's happening is the public doesn't believe any of it. Almost no one I talk to, in fact, no one believes it. So you asked your question is, what's the biggest thing we expose, or how does this mind control work? I think we're coming out of it. We have a discredited corporate media. We have a discredited government that's been hijacked. The public's really ending their naivete and figuring out they've been lied to and beginning the journey of discovering what's happening. And I think popular podcasts and shows like yours that are really, I think, middle of the road, but are actually just looking at the facts, are going to lead the way out of this, as the new media is now the mainstream media. I mean, your show's bigger than most of the shows on cable. Joe Rogan's show, I think something like 50 times bigger than a CNN show, 15 times bigger than a Fox show. But why do we still call it the mainstream media? Why do we still sit, all they are is disruptors that sit there and use psychological warfare to manipulate us. And so it's very healthy that people don't believe anything they're told. That's your right, especially when you've been lied to so much. If I had a neighbor that lied to me once, I'd think they were weird. They lied to me twice, I'm not going to talk to them anymore. Well, these people have been lying to us, caught, and then laugh about it, how funny it is. I mean, take James O'Keefe last year. This is about a year and a half ago. This is a full year before they totally shut it down. Well, we're going to end the whole COVID thing and stop hyping that for now. And we're going to be all global warming and lockdowns and energy shortages and collapsing stuff and, just the end of civilization, end of the world. And then like a light switch, a few months later, all the media on the same day gets the new script and shift to that. Well, that's the dinosaur media. And the only power they have is getting us to kind of debate what they're saying and doing, when at a certain point you realize it's just all crap. And that's happened. The average CNN show has like 80,000 viewers. The Fox has lost half their viewers, at least. They're down from an average of 2 million viewers to like less than 1 million. They're all committing suicide. You see Anheuser-Busch committing suicide. But then Modelo's smart. We want to celebrate sports heroes and icons and war veterans and families and heritage. And then like, it's not just Hispanics going out and buying the beer, it's the white people. They go, yeah, we want to celebrate heritage too. I mean, we want to crack a beer and think about, our country and our mothers and fathers and sisters and brothers and children, how we're good people and how we want to be successful. We want to hear about a boxer or a swimmer or a firefighter that saved kids. We don't want to see some clown hop around in a dress. And we're sick of the demoralization. So their attempt to demoralize us is not demoralizing us now. It's causing the Great Awakening.
So when you're saying that, here's how I process it. So take somebody that's watching this and saying, I cannot believe these guys are hosting Alex Jones. This guy is deplatformed from everywhere, Twitter. Even Elon Musk doesn't have Alex Jones, which I want to ask you about that as well on Why in a Minute. But so there are the people that 100% agree with you. They're loving what you're saying. Like, oh, this is awesome, great, keep going it. And then there's the people in the middle like, yeah, kind of makes sense. And then people on the one side that you're not going to win anyways. I just want to talk to the people in the middle. Forget about either side. I want to talk to the people in the middle. So if you're like me, as a Middle Eastern, Alex, I'm naturally super skeptical. I'm a paranoid guy. I don't trust a lot of people, okay? I'm kind of like, well, what's the guy's motive, et cetera, et cetera. But here's the part, Rob. We've shown this before. Here's public's trust in the U.S. government from 58 to today. It's the lowest it's been. Look at the numbers right there. I mean, I think the lowest it hit was under Obama, if you look at it there. And then now, from there, kept going. It hasn't increased. Now, go to the public trust in mainstream media, which is even worse. We were all the way up at 75% in 1976, give or take, and it has gradually declined all the way down to 34%. So it's not.
And by the way, I've looked at these big national polls. They're still sampling more mainline people. So from the numbers I've seen and what they internally have, they can do with these algorithms, it's way worse. Congress is more like 5%, and the media
trust in Congress.
Yes,
can you pull that up, Rob?
And the media is 9%.
And by the way, these numbers are from Gallup. It's not exactly some random website.
What I'm saying is Gallup though is from what we've seen is it's worse than what they're saying.
But here's a part though. Even with Gallup. For Gallup to show 34, 7% of Americans have confidence our institutions failing us. Okay, so what's the key word there that we're not trusting? Institutions, establishment. Okay, like people are wondering, and nowadays even college education, is it even worth for me to go to college? What am I going to go to college for?
And that's why they want to watch a new show, check what it's saying, and then they basically knight that as the new show, like yours or Joe Rogan, because they trust you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So they've committed suicide, and they think destroying us will make them be risen from the dead. They could take us all out. New people will pop right back up.
I think what people want is to listen to other skeptical people. I think Joe's skeptical. I don't look at Joe and I'm like, Joe is a guy that's fully trying to push an agenda. I think Joe's sitting there saying, guys, I don't know what's going on here. I'm going through the problem. Like the way he opened up.
He's skeptical and he is curious.
I love the way he's very curious. I love the way he opened up the RFK interview, where he said, I'm not going to lie to you, for the last 5 years, when I would watch sometimes, this guy's a kook, this guy's this. I'm like, oh, okay, probably not. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, wait a minute, some of the stuff he's saying is true. And then I read the book, and I'm like, holy shit. And then we ran into each other at it's funny, the same restaurant we were at. It was myself, him, and RFK, Casa D'Angelo, and we have to give a shout out to Casa D'Angelo, Aspen. We were just a day apart. We were all
there. You ran into Joe Rogan and all those guys at the same time.
Yeah. So that's how they connected. Like, hey, I want to get you on the podcast. And then obviously when he did the podcast, he pissed off everybody, Dr. Hotez, all these things. Anyways, what I do want to do is this before we go into the next one. Rob, can you pull up the next thing here with the Tucker Carlson video he had? I want to say it's in March or something like that when he said this. Again, this was a couple months before it happened. Rob, you had it just a minute ago. You had it. So
and it's like how Hotez won't debate. Look at Kirby and all of them running off the stage. They're running. They're running. That's when you're fleeing. That's when you've been routed in a war.
Yeah, but folks like Mehdi Hassan are saying he shouldn't debate. Time Magazine, he shouldn't debate.
They said he said in science we don't debate.
Yeah, exactly.
That's like saying in boxing we don't fight.
Yeah. So play this clip. This is when, Rob. Can you first show the date? This is March of this year, right? We're talking March of this year, March 8th of this year. This is you, okay? If you can play this.
He gets what's going on. He's not going back.
He
He believes in the people. And so I predict he won't be at Fox News in the near future if he's unable to put this out. I'm going to leave it at that. But that's speaking from my perspective. I'm not speaking for Tucker.
Why'd
Now,
you say
Cheryl
that?
Atkinson-
What was
How'd
your
you know?
reasoning for saying that? Why'd you say Tucker's not going to be at Fox long? Obviously, 2 months later, he's not, and there's a feud there. But why did you say that?
Well, because they'll attribute things to Tucker because they know we talk some and hang out some. He's on the other side of Florida over in
Naples.
he's in
Sarasota?
Boca Grande or whatever. And so we hung out on Thanksgiving last year. But he used to think I was full of it, and then he kind of woke up with a lot of stuff. Came in to visit me like 10, 11, 12 years ago. We became friends, hung out. And then he still thought I was kind of crazy, and then he learned more and more as it went along. And so I had called him. I think we talked like the day before that or something. I don't remember exactly. And I'd said, listen, all the things you're doing they're going to let you go. I said, there's no way that, and we had a private conversation about that, and he didn't see it coming. And I said, well, I just really think you should do your own thing when this goes down. And I said, because we'd already talked about this some at Thanksgiving, and infrastructure, independent things, the future, and cause he's kind of sticking his toe in that. And then I said, okay, well, I predict you're going to be gone within a month. I said, I smell it. And I just, it's not even like being psychic. I get all this data, and all I do is immerse myself. You call it the Holy Spirit, whatever you want, but it's like, boom, then I see something. Like I saw the World Trade Center towers on fire. I saw all the troops in the streets, and I could just see all the programming because you can just see how they're getting you ready for it. And like you said, when you're in the military, they start telling you, hey, terrorism's about to happen. Get ready, boys.
Yeah.
Get ready, boys. Well, they were doing that. I mean, like, get ready, the terrorists are about to hit us, and your life's going to change. I mean, it's not that hard. And you go, okay, what are they going to hit? What are they programming? And then they just had a lone gunman show where they flew a jumbo jet hijacked into the World Trade Center to blame a Middle Eastern terrorist to invade Afghanistan. Now, I said at the time, see, they're going to attack the World Trade Center. That's another reason. Later, Chris Carter contacts me and says, yes, that's true. The CIA contacted me. They did this routinely, and they basically wrote that script 9 months before 9/11, and then he produces it. It aired 6 months before. It was the Lone Gunman spinoff. And then he based the 2016 series on me. That's the interview. He said that. I'm not trying to brag. It's just crazy. The whole talk show host ends up being right at the end. And that's another reason they came after me, because they're like, this guy's getting too popular, even with the thinker people they don't control. So the CIA came to Carter and said, we want you to put this out. And then you notice his 2016 show is all about a vaccine that has a system in it that basically destroys your immune system. And so they have some reason wanting to pre-program us. And I don't think Carter's with them. I think he figured out, he thought he was just helping. He realizes now he was like programming the subconscious for something. This is very sophisticated. You have your conscious, you have your unconscious, and you have your subconscious. Or you have your conscience, and you have your subconscious, and you have the unconscious. And so they're directly trying to talk to the unconscious. And that's thousands of times more powerful, they believe, than the conscious, and hundreds of times more than the unconscious.
Why do you think they let Tucker go? Why do you think specifically on the Fox side?
Well, I actually know why.
Okay.
I mean, I know well, they were already planning to do it. And then let's just say this. The Vanity Fair article, or was it the Hollywood Reporter? I forget. Which one was the one that Rupert Murdoch was upset by his fiance being Christian?
Oh yeah, I remember reading that where Tucker was talking about God a lot in that speech, and that it pissed him off because Rupert Murdoch is an atheist.
Well, and
he got really pissed off.
Vanity Fair.
Vanity Fair, and so the night they pulled the trigger was when he gave that Heritage Foundation speech. And he said, "Look, God's real. You need to pray to God at least 5 to 10 minutes a day. Evil's real." And you need to get God. You need to get God right now.
Tucker said that.
Tucker did that
in a speech.
Yeah,
at the Heritage Foundation.
And then Murdoch called the head of Fox and said, "I want him fired, and I want him fired Monday morning. Don't tell him until we put the press release out simultaneously." So they call him, get him on the phone, say you're fired, and then put the press release out and hang up on him.
Alex, how do you know this?
And then they won't tell him.
How do you know this? Is it because people from?
I can't give sources.
No, I'm not giving names. I'm not giving names. All
I mean,
I'm
my
saying,
sources are so good. that I even had Tucker's guys like, come on, Alex, don't tell everybody everything. And I didn't even get it from Tucker. I got some of it. The point is, I know everything.
Okay, somebody.
In fact, I got stuff so incredible it'll blow you away, but I can't tell you. I mean, it's pretty amazing.
This is all from my perspective. This is what I hear. What I'm getting is I have a different source. My source is the amount of people that have reached out that want to come join our organization. And we're not even a big media company. We're barely getting started. We're a small little media company here in South Florida. And but the amount of people that are saying, hey, are you looking for talent? We heard you're looking for talent. We don't want to be here long term. Some of the stuff that's going on the inside at Fox is not something.
No, Fox is falling apart. I mean, Tucker, obviously, his former lead producer that put up the thing that Biden's an aspiring dictator. That was his last hurrah, knowing they'd fire him. They're all going to join Tucker. He's built it. I interrupted. Sorry. Tell me what's going on.
No, that's all I'm saying is we get to call on people. So you're saying Tucker's planning on building a media company,
or on Twitter?
I think that's obvious.
Okay.
I mean, yes. But here's the thing. I don't want to give anything out of confidence. And so I've learned, I have Fox sources, I have other sources, I've talked to people, and I mean, that's obvious that's what he's going to do. I mean, his first new show that got like 100 and whatever million views, he said, I plan to do monologues and then more things after that. So yes, what you saw with his Fox Nation thing, but done right, is what he's planning. That's all. The thing is, people say things are classified or they're secret. Real intelligence is what's right in front of you. So Tucker has said he's going to do all this. And so then I do know some of the things he's planning, but I'm not going to repeat that. I can just tell you what I can, with human intelligence, see is going on. But yes, Fox has actually lost 50+% of its main viewers. It's like 65% of their key demo. Basically, they committed suicide, again, just like all these other leftist companies. Because they're planning something big, and I don't think they care. And the central banks with the ESGs can give them unlimited money to prop them up later. That's why these companies fall over themselves to lose $24 billion at Target or $15 billion at Anheuser-Busch. Fall over themselves to do this is because they're planning something so big, and things are going to be shook up so bad that none of this is going to be here anymore. And then that leads us to the Russia situation.
Who are some of the guys you're seeing right now that are either in the process of being the next Tuckers or are in the camp of Tucker, that they're pushing the envelope, they're challenging the establishment? Who else would you put? Obviously not at Tucker's level. Tucker's a guy that's the MJ, the industry today. Who else you see is coming up? Whatever different places they are there any other names that you're seeing that's going under the direction that Tucker's going? Like, for example, when we used to watch Tucker back in the days with Crossfire, and he's doing what he's doing with Jon Stewart, and Jon Stewart's trying to punk him, and you see how Tucker stood up to him, and challenge him, and then look, he went from being who he was back then and the bow tie to not being the Tucker of nobody's getting the kind of eyeballs he's getting. So who won at the end of the day? Tucker won from going, John.
Well, that's the thing. Tucker is a genuinely nice guy, but he's also a big guy and really smart, and he has a temper. So the point is that them messing with him and stuff made him go from being a Mr. Nice Guy to no more Mr. Nice Guy. And now he's really no more Mr. Nice Guy. Yeah, I don't think anybody's in his class for being able to do interviews or think on his feet or do a great monologue, because he writes all that himself. He's a great writer, great researcher. And then I think Joe Rogan, just because of his curiosity and because of his being skeptical, obviously is just going to continue to get bigger. I think people like yourself. I've seen your show exponentially grow. It's always been popular, but I see it everywhere now. It's just obviously exploding.
What do you think about? I guess the question I was more asking is guys from mainstream media, not the podcast guys. Like, who at Fox do you see? Do you like what Brett does? Do you like what some of the guys at Megyn Kelly's doing? Obviously, Megyn Kelly's at a different place. Who are some of the names that you're saying? And Megan's already she's one of the best. I'm talking about some of the people at Fox that you're saying that guy maybe won't be at Fox too long himself. Is there anyone at Fox that you're thinking?
I get your question. No, I don't think anybody's in Tucker's league. I don't think any of those people all just have producers. They try to break stories. They try to chase stories. And Fox is basically a sinking ship. And so I do think a lot of them are going to leave and be successful in whatever type of programs they do. But at the same time, look, everything is going to be either you're a populist, anti-New World Order, or you're a globalist suck-up. And so that's it. Everything's going to go towards, are you going to sit there and buy the BS of Neil deGrasse Tyson when he just tells you stuff that's completely untrue, and he just says science, 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 science? You're like, well, show me science. So he's like, I have a pink Lamborghini outside. Well, show me. No science. You don't question that. I say it's going to be 400 degrees outside tomorrow. Well, show me the facts. No science. Well, it was all tested. These drugs were all approved. No, they weren't. They were brought on market and then approved. An emergency deal. That's totally separate. Never before done. He's just, no, it was all approved. Massive testing. We've never done more studying in our entire universe as we've done on these shots. These are safe, effective, pure, clean, wonderful. And not one word of that's true. I mean, remember the first year it was an open piece of paper when you opened up the vaccine ampule by law. It has to be in there. And it just said the name of the company. Not one thing that was in it because none of it was approved. Emergency authorization. And then they did, quote, studies and suppress those studies. And that's all a fact. And they don't want you to even be able to say that. Anybody can look at what I just said. So it's going to be, are you going to sit there and take the establishment's money and tell people that there's, that there's ice water in hell, or are you going to try to figure out what's going on? So everything is going to be the quest for legitimacy, the quest for curiosity, and the quest of skepticism. And if you're not skeptical in this environment, you're an idiot. We have gotten in this situation because we've not been skeptical. And if you go to places like Russia or the Middle East or places that have had turmoil more recently, people are skeptical or they're dead. And so you either get skeptical and get your head in the game and learn how stuff works, or you're dead. We've had it so good in this country. We're the best house in a bad neighborhood. We've had it so good in this country for at least 150 years, okay? And this place has been a wonderland compared to most other countries. And so people now have grown up off our grandparents and off their grandparents, the average American, and have no idea how good we've had it, and the fact that God is lowering the defense shield now because we have stopped being good moral people, and now tyranny's flooding in, and we better find God and find skepticism and find rugged individualism and find the will to stand up and have courage, or we'll lose everything. People always say, oh, you've got courage to fight them. I'm trying to get out of like walls closing in on my family and my country and the world. It's not courage to be trying to get out of this thing. I mean, you take the cheesy Star Wars analogy where they're in the trash compactor, it's going to kill them. Do they have courage trying to get out of there? No, they're fighting for their lives. If somebody tied bowling balls to my legs and threw me in the deep end and I'm fighting, trying to claw my way up out of there, it's not courage. It's the opposite. It's self-preservation. Yes. So people better understand it's not courage. Okay? It's the courage to save yourself, which isn't courage at all, in my view.
So, Alex, it's obviously a pattern when it comes to people that are exposing the truth, the elites and everything. You, Julian Assange, Edward Snowden, Andrew Tate, RFK. People, like even me personally, is there a light at the end of the tunnel? Or like, is there a chance for us to win? Or are we fighting a losing battle? Because, Alex, they have set up the pieces to this game that we're playing in. Is there a light, like with people like this, that you have this passion, the truth is coming out, but is it all for nothing?
There is a light at the end of the tunnel. They've gone and dug up those temples of Ramses II 3,000 plus years ago, more than that with Moses. So what you see in the Ten Commandments, I mean, that was real people, real stuff went on. People can question the biblical story if they want, but Moses existed, Ramses II existed, all that went on. You're saying, what's that to do with what I asked? The Israelites had to just stop doing what they were told. Everybody's seen that meme that shows like 5 burn matches and then one
Small
match,
one. Yep.
And it says non-compliance or
I know.
non-conformity, and then all the other matches aren't burned. You can stop the chain reaction. And so finally, after decades or whatever it was of the Jews saying we're done being your slaves, they said, okay, pack your stuff up and go. Okay, and the desert was rough and it was tough and they went through a lot of hell. Then they built their own thing. And so look how you built your own thing. The establishment became corrupt. The mainstream media lied to us. It committed seppuku. It committed suicide. Now we're building a new system. The Amish 400 years ago were Protestants. They were being persecuted in Switzerland and Germany. So they packed up, sold everything, and moved here. And still today, they don't have autism. They don't have any of this stuff. They don't have suicide rates. They're living the dream because they don't hang out with Big Pharma. And so we don't have to do what the Amish have done, but we have to be in the world but not of the world, to use the Christian allegory.
Got it.
And we have to build our own systems, build our own companies. Instead of a boycott, which is great against Anheuser-Busch or Target, we need a boycott. And when we start, and that's what ESGs are, is they've analyzed all this. They know the boycott by populists, by Christians, by conservatives, by people that just want to be capitalist and live normal and be able to defend ourselves and create wealth. We can do anything we want. Humans are incredible. Instead of being ruled by these globalists that want us poor so they can dictate the terms of our surrender, we have to build the new Renaissance. We have to build the Great Awakening. And it has to be a spiritual awakening in God, in Christ. And we have to call on God because they've got their God. Notice Target literally put out shirts with an artist that says
Atheists and believing in the devil. Yeah.
we are Satanists and we are going to recruit your kids and an
A
adult
shirt with that?
A shirt. The designer,
Pull up
it was
that
all devil, worship Satan. Satan loves trans.
LGBTP.
Satan loves trans.
S for Satan.
Now they threw an
Not the
S
name.
in there.
Look, Pat,
They
see
threw
that
an
one,
S?
Robert, it says Target right there. Go right there. Top left,
left.
Target. And that was the pin that they were selling. Target respects, Satan respects pronouns. They were selling
There's
that.
no way they were selling that.
I
Yes,
they were.
100% they were
click on
selling.
that?
We sent crew in and got video of it.
Pat, they were selling
They were
it.
selling this in Austin.
Target ignites firestorm with launch of new clothing line designed by Satanists.
100%.
Target just missed a bullseye by a mile and then some. Can you zoom in a little bit? The retail giant has been selected by a few brands in the United Kingdom that promote Satan. You read it right. Target's partner is Ab Pralin. It has produced a prayer collection for Target's celebration of LGBT Pride Month and promotes satanic images, themes.
This is as outrageous.
Listen.
At Target, Pat.
Listen. Go to Twitter and the woman has an account. These are shirts, not just art.
Trans witches for what they are. They also offer clothing and accessories that includes catchphrases like trans witches for abortion. Okay, click on that and let's try to buy it. Go to trans witches for abortion.
Well, here's the good news. They pulled it after a week.
Okay.
Yeah, but the guy.
And then they got all these bomb threats from the LGBT pieces.
Yeah, leave it in there. The
Rainbow Mafia is real.
The Rainbow Mafia was like, yo, we're going to bomb Target if you try to mess with it.
Go on that Etsy page. Yeah, that one right there.
Because that guy's name, Abralin, whatever his name
Trans
is.
witches for abortion.
Listen, they actually sold the shirts that had a guillotine and said we're going to kill homophobes.
Yeah.
And then it shows an adult skeleton giving a baby skeleton the trans fire, and it says we will recruit your children. They will be trans.
What was the thing that we're preaching the other day? We're here, we're queer, we're coming for your children.
Share the story and what happened there.
So-
Rob, if you want to pull up the story.
So, and Alex, I'll give a couple examples before we
Talk
get
about
to that.
Boston.
I'm talking about,
Yes.
and Alex, we've talked about this yesterday. So when people like you, when people like me talk about this attack on children, this satanic going after children and the trans movement, just a couple of quick stories that happened this week. In Boston, 4 kids were found in a drag party with one dead trans guy on the floor, and the kids were in the back. There were sex toys scattered throughout the house and a hoarder home. Doesn't make headline news, but the
firefighters said they were hiding the kids in the back bedroom.
they were
The
hiding.
Daily Mail right here put it out there.
Yeah,
so
and-
this
okay.
is not a right wing source.
Yeah.
Daily Mail.
Listen, keep the stories going. The first trans state representative, Stacey Lawton, aka Barry Lawton, from New Hampshire, was just arrested for distributing child porn. Okay, it just happened. And mind you, they couldn't find him because he transitioned and changed his name. How about this
And
one?
by the way, they're trying to pass laws in California and other states where once you change your name, if you're trans, it expunges your criminal record.
Police
Oh,
record.
really?
Oh, yeah. So, yeah.
Just change your name, Alex.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Now you're Alexandra Jones, exonerated.
Yeah,
You're
there
good.
goes
You
the
know,
money.
you owe no money.
And one more. So 3 days ago, the ex-CNN producer John Griffin was sentenced 19 years for sexually assaulting a 9-year-old, okay? And then this was the other day. This is in New York City, a drag march where the marchers are chanting, "We're here, we're queer, we're here for your children." Tell me this isn't disgusting. Listen. Like, they're out here. Now listen, this is out. We're
How
here.
do you want to bet those are public school teachers?
100%. Yeah, and
We're
here's the thing.
coming for your
That's worse. Did you
children.
see the San Francisco city-funded gay choir where they go, "We're coming for your children. We'll take them. You'll love it. And then we'll get you too. We're going to get your children." And then they go to the city councils all over, even in conservative areas, and go, "We are going to recruit your children and have sex with them."
Oh my
This is
God.
Rob, can you pull that up?
And Alex, how is that not the headline story, but that Titanic sinking ship with 5 people is the #1 story?
Oh, yeah, and Blue's Clues now on,
Does it say right here?
on mainstream TV has Baphomet and Moloch and the kids being sacrificed.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so this is exactly what. But here's what's happening. Let me tell you what I think is happening, and I kind of agree with what you're saying. I think common sense will prevail, and a lot of people are sitting there saying this just doesn't make any sense. You saw the Gallup poll that came back where America is right now with the LGBTQ and where they're standing. How the biggest plus minus was the fact that the American people are no longer as comfortable as they were. It dropped by 7% year over year where we're at. And even the Glendale stuff that's going on with the kids, the parents coming out saying this is too much, you're crossing the line. More and more people are being united on ESG's bad idea. more and more people are being united with you can't be grooming our kids. More and more people are starting to realize this is not just what we're all about. And it's not just the people from the right. It's people from who have historically voted Democrat that are saying, look, man, I don't know what the hell is going on. This isn't what I supported.
It's a lunatic asylum.
Yeah, you're seeing it's going from Democrat versus Republican, where it's going from establishment against anti-establishment. That's the two political parties. We're gradually going away from the Republican and the Democratic Party. We're going to the anti-establishment and the establishment party. And people were saying, yeah, you know what? I don't trust the establishment anymore like I used to. I just don't.
It also goes to ridiculous versus just common sense. Stuff like this.
We're here, we're queer.
We're coming for your children. And how, Patrick, that is, listen to me, that's the devil out in the open. They're not even hiding anymore.
And they say in this, towards the end, they say, we're going to get them, we're going to groom them, they're ours, they're going to love it, and so will you.
This transcends party lines. This is
and it turned out a bunch
of
them were registered sex offenders with children.
These guys.
Yeah, a bunch of them.
The majority, look at their faces.
What did they say in this video? What did they say in this video?
I don't know which one.
This is the city-sponsored choir. I mean, it's nauseating. Just
click on it.
And just so you know, for
go to
reference,
the last third. Go to the last third.
From 2021.
Okay.
We're coming for your children.
Jesus.
We're coming for your children.
Is this a real video or is this
No, this
like
is their
a deep
religion.
fake?
This is not a joke. No, they arrested
San
some of
Francisco gay men's chorus sang a song about coming for your children. It was like they spelled the plan out in plain sight.
Sometimes, like Alex said, sometimes just look right in front of your face. What they're saying, it doesn't need to be conspiratorial.
Yeah.
They're fucking saying it.
Yeah, there's no hiding.
Can we continue the song? Was that just the point of the song?
Yeah, sing along if you know the words out there.
That
Sing
was the
along.
clip.
12 seconds.
That was it.
Unbelievable.
We're coming for your
children.
That's it.
Hold on. And they're doing it.
It gets worse later. Like, we will groom them, and we're going to get you too. You belong to us. Your body is ours. And remember, the left wants to make you take the shots, too. It's all about rape.
And Alex, you warned
power.
Alex, you warned about the Epstein Island situation way before he got arrested, way before he committed suicide. What, like, are they just gonna get away with this for?
Well, I mean, here's an example. I got put like 20 years ago in some Hollywood movies. Never even asked to do it. Rick Linklater's a great guy, not part of Hollywood, and he put me in Waking Live in the Scanner Darkly with Keanu Reeves and people, but I also consulted on those, especially on Scanner Darkly. So then this is how I got into Hollywood. Martin Sheen saw one of my anti-war films and said, "I'd like you to fly out to California." So this is like in 2004 or something.
Charlie Sheen's dad.
Yeah. No, so that's how I met Charlie Sheen. So I'm at their house in Malibu.
That'd be a party.
And they're there, and there's like, all of a sudden Anthony Hopkins comes over, and it's like, I'm sitting at their house, and they're watching one of my documentaries, telling me how great I am. So they think I'm a leftist because it's anti-war, which I am anti-war just as a populist, as a conservative, as a person. And then Emilio Estevez comes over, and then all of a sudden Charlie Sheen comes over, and he goes, "Hey man, I'll fly out here next time. I want you to blah blah." And back then he was with. He was off the drugs, then he was smoking cigarettes. He was with... the
dark-haired, the hot girl?
No, it was the girl before that. Who's the one that's in Starship Troopers?
Oh, Denise Richards?
Denise Richards.
That's who he was married to, as kids with.
Yeah. So I used to go stay at his house. His kids are there. And,
You're staying with Charlie Sheen?
Oh, yeah.
Buddy, invite me to that party next time, Alex Jones.
Well, no, I've stayed with him when he went downhill.
Definitely invite me to that party.
He used to like, "Hey, my house is always here, man. And listen, you can use all my cars. Here, drive my Porsche. And it's like 800 horsepower. First gear goes like 60 miles an hour."
Yeah.
I was like, I've driven stick and good, but I had to like turn it around and bring it back to his house. He's like, "Hey man, I want some Taco Bell. Go take the Porsche and go get me some down the hill." And I'm seriously, and I'm like, I had to bring back. "Can I drive another car?" I was like, "I can't drive it."
Go back to what was happening. Go back to what was happening.
So this part,
Charlie Sheen and
show
Martin
the picture,
Sheen
Andres.
and all this.
Look at these guys. I mean, you look like you were in good shape. He looks like he was rough right there.
Tiger blood.
So Alex, you were saying about the Hollywood. You're
Martin
in Hollywood.
Sheen, Hollywood.
You're in Hollywood. You were going to be in the movie.
You were going somewhere with this, Mr. Jones.
And so then I got to know all these other people. Yeah. Those were off-record stuff. But I mean, like he had to go to dinner with Buzz Aldrin, and Buzz Aldrin talk about the aliens and the secret bases and the obelisk, and how they're going to find water in 2 years. We're going to let the Indians find it, and 2 years later, I'm in an airport, and there's a newspaper saying, and I mean, just the most wacky stuff. So so then I start knowing all these other Hollywood people because I was going on TV shows and like some reality shows about conspiracy. Did a whole bunch of them, 5 or 6 of them, probably more than that. And so I was on a lot of TV programs. And I was doing voiceovers, doing real well. And then this is probably like 16 years ago or so, I knew some folks. They go, listen, you think Hollywood's cool? He goes, this wasn't Charlie, some other people. They go, there's like 3 groups. There's just people that are here that make the money and then you try to live outside the area. And then there's Scientologists. And then there really is like a cult CIA devil worshippers. And I didn't learn this from Martin Sheen or Charlie Sheen, from other people. And it was like, yeah, they've got these cults, but they all feed into this larger CIA group and they brand the women on their bellies and all, and that was NXIVM. And then they've got these islands where they get these politicians and scientists and people to compromise them. And it's all run by MI6, CIA, and Mossad. And they fly them out to these islands. And he goes, and they're not just having sex with kids. He goes, they also, that's the entry door. And I learned this from more people and found it from other folks. And then I talked to entertainers and then I talked to well-known musicians. And like, that's why a lot of them just leave because, this happened to Mark Dice, who's, been friends with forever. He got offered a major show by the largest reality TV show group. And this is like 10 years ago now. And they get him in there at the end of it and they say, well, here's the last thing. We want you, they're going to have a huge show with a huge, with one of the Motley Crue guys. I think it was Nikki Sixx. And the head of the company goes, but we want you to pledge yourself to Lucifer. And Mark said, well, I'm a Christian. They go, well, we know you say you are, but let's just get this out of the way. And he says, is this a joke? And they said, no, I'm deadly serious with you. Now, that's just one guy that'll go public. I got told that. And I've had a lot of meetings. I've had meetings with Bilderberg Group members. I've had meetings with all these folks. And they're off-record meetings, so I never talk about them. But one time, the head of the Kissinger Group, Rothkopf, in front of my producer, said, we want you to come work for us. We want you to come to New York next week. We're going to, there's only a few thousand people in the super class. We want you to lead, basically the populist liberty movement. But you'll get a seat at the table, but you'll have to do what we tell you, but you'll get to have some input. You can be on your crusade and fail, or you can join us. So that was offered in front of John Harmon, my producer. I said, is this off record? They said, no, just join us. But that wasn't Satanism the way they said it there, but it's always the same speech. And so I have repeatedly had people. One time I had this major executive trying to give me a $10 million a year contract and multi-book deals every year. And they said, you just got to come in and do the show, but we'll control what you do. And I'm sitting there, and his guy's wife comes in, and we're up in this big high-rise, corporate office, and this woman's super beautiful. And they go, I hear you like to have fun. You want to have sex with my wife right now? She thinks you're hot. She wants to have sex. What do I need to do? I need to get on my knees and have you sign this contract. Then another time,
They offer you this deal?
absolutely. Another time, they sent this famous CIA guy, same deal. I meet with him, all this stuff. He gets on his knees. So, and that's what these people do because they want that baseball card. They want to own Alex Jones, and they're going to want to own you when you get popular. And they're going to want, and there's super crazy stuff like I'd already heard about this, but I was talking to a very well-known individual, and I can't tell the whole story. But he was being flown by the same guy that was flying the king of a major Middle Eastern country. And I'm not going to say because we don't get the guy in trouble. This is on a big jet, jumbo, large full-body jet, and this is the chief pilot. And he tells this guy that I know doesn't BS. He tells him, listen, I've only done this once. Had to sign all these NDAs, all this other stuff. We get on the jumbo jet with the king of this major deal, and there's other jets, a couple jets following it with his family because that's how they do it. And he says, go to these coordinates. And he wouldn't even say what ocean, but he goes, there's nothing there. And he goes, no, go there. They go there. It's a private island beyond. It's like 7-star, if such a thing existed, and no homeless, nothing but billionaires. But it's just everything. And telling you that's the level of this control. And I guarantee you they've approached Joe Rogan because he hasn't told me, but I could tell, in the last year he's gotten the talking to, but he said, screw him, I could tell. Because we hang out and have dinner and talk some, but the point is I can just tell because I know people get these speeches. And
For sure. Is there another Epstein Island?
But well, that's the level. The level of, yes, absolutely. When you say an island,
yeah.
I mean, I'm being told by well-known people that, man, hey, you think Hollywood's cool. What are you going to do when you're at a party some night and they bring a 16-year-old girl in there and start having sex with her and just implicate you're in the building?
Wow.
And that's why you need to not go to that party tonight. You need to get out of here. Okay, that's the kind of stuff, really, prominent people you're like telling you, this place is dangerous and you need to watch out. Because I was getting deep into Hollywood. I mean, I was at parties with the biggest names.
Well, I mean, you just have to think about if Rob, what is this you pulled up here? This NXIVM?
That's the sex cult that Alex was talking about in Los Angeles.
Name of commonly used to describe the personality cult of imprisoned racketeer and sex offender Keith Raniere. Is also trademark name defunct corporation that Raniere founded, which provided seminars and videos in the field of human potential development. The United States seized ownership of the organization, related entities, and personal intellectual property through asset forfeiture, allowing Raniere to keep going there. So what's the last one? Something in your district.
But that's just one feeder group. That's just one feeder group. So they have all these little, kind of like the Hells Angels or the Mongols. Will have a sub motorcycle gang that's not members but works for them.
Yeah.
And then they'll have guys under them. And so that's how they work. So so I was told by a lot of people that this stuff was going on and that Hollywood was run by basically, I mean, if you've seen that new movie, I forget the name of it. It was pretty powerful. It's actually somewhat historic. It's a composite. Babylon, about Hollywood. The latest movie that just came out.
Was it a movie or documentary?
Sound of Freedom?
No, I think it was called Babylon, Hollywood Babylon.
Try to find that, Rob.
It just came out. I watched it. Like,
What was the
Is it in
premise?
theaters?
It was in theaters. It was a big movie.
What was the premise of the movie?
It was the early days of Hollywood in the 20s and 30s.
Hollywood?
Yeah, I see it right here.
Right there, Hollywood Babylon. Yeah, Babylon.
2022?
Yeah, click it.
Epic period black comedy.
Margot Robbie.
Brad
Right,
Pitt.
Margot Robbie.
Anyways, you watch that. That stuff went on.
Go
in
to the
Hollywood.
poster on the right, Rob.
Oh, the poster right there.
Punch in.
Is that it?
Yeah, and so this is based
Brad
on.
Pitt, Margot Robbie, Babylon.
This is
what's
based
it based on?
real, like The Patriot with Mel Gibson is a composite of 3 stories, but they're true, and that's the same thing for a lot of these movies. But I read the research on this. This is a composite of real stuff that went on in Hollywood. So this devil worship, cannibalism, eating rats while having sex with hot women, because to them it's not enough to have a hot woman. Now you need to have it.
Brad Pitt is in it. Margot Robbie's on.
Yeah.
Why would they make a movie trashing their own industry?
I think they think it's cool, and
Is it coming from a place of like exposing the truth, or is it coming from a place of this is the level you make it if you become very famous in Hollywood?
they basically say this is Hollywood's tombstone in the movie, and they just say this is who we are, and Hollywood's dead now. So now here's the story of how we began, and that maybe we'll be reborn somewhere else.
It's pretty strange, right there, man.
Because we're all in the phase now of even the system has to expose itself now, because this is the season of that. And so, but I'm telling you, watch this movie. This is devil worship in the 20s and 30s.
They call it a black comedy drama. Punch in, Rob.
Epic period black comedy drama. You watched this whole movie?
Yes. But what I saw at Bohemian Grove had major shades of this. And if I can, just because I never do this on big shows, we're struggling to stay on air. We still have a huge audience that tunes in, and our work gets seen everywhere. But it's kind of like I'm in a prison, and then I send letters out. If people want to find what we're actually doing and what's going on, ban.video, they block sharing that link, so madmaxworld.tv. Obviously, there's the famous Infowars.com. But I'm on the air 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. every day. I have another great talk show host. I'm going to be hosting my show tomorrow night from Tampa at the River Church at revival.com. We're going to simulcast that. And then I'm going to do a meet and greet and ask Alex Jones anything at 7 p.m. at the River Church in Tampa Sunday night. So I guess
Is that Pastor Rodney's church?
That's Pastor Rodney.
Shout out to Pastor
Howard Brown
Shout
out there. So that's going to be going on. And I still have my crew. We're still able to pay the bandwidth bills, the satellite uplinks. We're on a lot of TV stations and cable stations as well. And we're fighting, and the enemy's trying to shut us down. But, you asked, how do I pay the bills? You asked that earlier.
Yes.
We're in a chapter 11, subchapter 5, which is a reorganization. And if the company's viable, even though the other side just wants us silenced, then under federal law it continues. And the judge says we've done a good job. Everything's proven up the way we said it was. It's a viable company. So it looks like that's going to probably go through in the next few months. And then the bankruptcy will go forward and my company won't be shut down. I personally didn't declare bankruptcy until I had the $1 billion $500 million judgment. That kicked me up into pure Chapter 11, so I can't do that. But it's a catch-22 because I don't have a bunch of stuff. And so I'm wearing a $20 T-shirt, but this is how I like to live. And so, plus I don't have a sharp like you guys look like athletes. But so the message is they haven't hurt me very bad. They haven't silenced me. In fact, they've made me bigger, and I kind of want to say folk hero-ish now because the system's so demonized. People say this guy's getting massively demonized. He must be good. So it's not that I'm that good. It's that anything that people now see as the establishment hating, they love. And so that's what has happened. And I want my enemies to know you've not silenced me, but I'm not even your enemy. I want you to stop destroying yourselves. You've lost all credit. I'm kind of like the FBI back before they were really corrupt, saying, come out with your hands up and it'll go better for you. The New World Order is failing. Everybody sees who you are. It isn't working anymore. I just want my children to have a future, and I really want to have like an armistice with the globalist and then have an open discussion about the way civilization's going, because we haven't even gotten into Russia, and I'm glad to talk about myself, but folks, this is way more dangerous than the Cuban Missile Crisis. This guaranteed a globalist coup, counter coup, power struggle in Russia is going on right now. No one knows what the truth is. I can talk about the angles of it, and I'm sure you guys, we talked before we went live, are amazing. But this is, I mean, I am at a gut level instinctively concerned for my family and concerned for us. I mean, I actually feel good being in a 4-foot wall safe facility right now.
Alex, before we get to Russia, because I know we do want to cover that, you said something a second ago that I think would be appropriate to bring up. You said when they tried to silence you, when they tried to cancel you, it actually has a reverse effect. You actually end up getting bigger.
Look at Tucker. He had 5 million viewers a night.
Yeah.
Now his average show 60 million.
And then this is reminiscent of an interview we just did 2 weeks ago with the one and only Andrew Tate, his brother Tristan Tate. I know you've had some relationships with them. He's only getting bigger as they try to silence him and cancel him. You've had some experiences with Tate. You're following that story. What do you think about that?
I was one of the first people to interview him in the U.S. Paul Watson was friends with him when he was on Big Brother. They hung out a lot. And they used to go out and, double date and stuff because they're both big, tall, handsome guys. Total gentleman to women, totally nice. All of it's pure crap. Half the women that supposedly said this said that they never said that. They wouldn't charge him for a year and a half. It's pure. The fact that he was the most Googled person and everything he did was getting 100 million views, and they're just scared of any man that pops up that threatens their monopoly, because what might stand up against the globalists or take over the planet? Men. And so any man they can't buy, any man they can't intimidate, any man they can't destroy, they come after you with sex. And let me just tell you, I think he did some racy stuff. They did the cam stuff. They made a lot of money. He had former police officers and people running it. That's his right to do it. I think he painted a target on his back, but I don't think he knew how big he was going to get and that would then happen. That said, I'll break some news here. We had, from the other side, trying to shut us down recently. This has even been in the Washington Post. The Justice Department trying to indict me, and then even the Justice Department said this guy didn't do anything on January 6th. He tried to stop it. We can't charge an innocent man. That was in the Washington Post. It's crazy enough. They're still got Jack Smith trying to do it, claiming I'm masterminded with Trump. It's just ridiculous. But they've had the CIA, because we know who the people are. They're dumb enough where we can get their license plates and track them. And a bunch of my guys have worked. Working at the CIA is nothing. I mean, that's like the low level thing on my guy's resume. Everybody's worked for the CIA that works for the military and all that stuff, and the State Department and everything else. And then they have the CIA. They've had British intelligence, and they've had through these cutouts with big international PI private investigation units, literally combing through and getting Facebook images from like 10 years ago, and where a woman took a picture with me, and they call her up and say, "You had a relationship with Alex Jones? Did he rape you?" Well, and the woman's like, I think I saw him once at a movie theater, and I took a picture with him. I've had more than dozens of women call the office and say, "Hey, I only met Alex once at a party, and this group's coming to me." So then they try to go to the security companies and that I've used and try to hire them. This rich person from whatever wants to hire you, and then they get to the interview and it's all about me. And hey, well, and it's like, does he ever rape women? So that's what they're doing to me. Except I'm not doing that. Okay, so I work hard. Eat too much, drink too much sometimes, and I go home and throw my 6-year-old around the pool and hang out with my other 3 children that are basically grown. 21, 18, and 15. So to me, especially under this attack, more than ever, it's all about family. That's my refuge. That's what it's all about. And they literally have multinational groups and intelligence agencies scouring, going, we've got to get somebody to and look, they'll probably find a woman I don't even know, like with this Trump lady. He was found guilty by a jury, not of raping a woman. They said, no, we didn't find he raped her, but he defamed her by saying he's innocent. Think about that. Trump said he was innocent, $5 million. And I'm sure after a certain point, it's like an escape from New York.
Yeah, have you seen a clip with her and Anderson Cooper?
Yeah, where she says women really love getting raped.
No, she said he never even
she
physically
says,
touched me. It was an emotional rape.
Oh, yeah.
No, you should.
Seen this clip?
I have. Well, play it again.
Yeah,
This clip never gets old when she says, I really like you, Anderson, and he gets uncomfortable.
he looks like he wants to stop
Well, he's not attracted. Plus, she's not even a woman, but he's attracted to men.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think she fully understood that he's gay.
Yeah, exactly.
He's trying to come on to a gated.
She's like, listen, lady who looks like the chick from 40-Year-Old Virgin, if I'm going to make the switch, it ain't going to be for you.
Well, she also looks like the monster from Before It Turns into Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
Oh, my God. Oh, that's hilarious.
She goes, are you a god? No? Then die! Don't you love how Congressman Gozer has the same name as the demon god?
Gozer. That's
Gozer the Eliminator. Gozer the Traveler. Gozer the Destroyer. Gozer's on CNN.
Play the clip.
I feel like a victim.
I was not thrown on the ground and ravished, which the word rape carries so many sexual connotations. This was not sexual. It hurt.
But I think most people think of rape as it is a violent assault. It is not.
I think most people think of rape as being sexy.
What?
Let's take a short break.
Look at the fantasies.
Look.
We're just going to take a quick break. We'll talk more on the other side.
This.
You're fascinating to talk to.
I don't know if I've seen many clips on over and over again than this.
And he's revolted. He literally goes like, ooh.
Oh, you're fascinating.
You're not his type, honey. But listen, I found tapes of this lady. I mean, one night I literally spent like 3 hours finding clips, and I didn't send them to the crew, but I never played them on air. She literally hopping around in the woods, like, I mean, she is a fruit ball, man. I mean, in the encyclopedia it should say, fruitcake, wingbat, and there's a picture of her.
In fact, guys, before we go into the Russian thing, so Alex Jones. So let's say you have a crystal ball, Alex, before you started this crusade and who you are right now to this day, and you could see everything that they've done and where you're at right now. Do you change anything? Do you do anything different not to get to? Because you saw what they're doing to you.
Hindsight's 20/20, and I see how God works, how the universe works, the Lord works in mysterious ways. Yeah, I would have done a lot of things different. I didn't realize how influential I was even 15 years ago. And I would just be doing 5-6 hours a day some days and just having fun. Sometimes I do nighttime shows, have a few martinis, and say stuff tongue in cheek, and then that let them spin it and do things and take it out of context. But that probably added to the success at the end of the day. So it's all in God's hands. I've never tried to lie. I've never tried to hurt innocent people. But I have had a big footprint, and I have stepped on people, and I'm sorry for that. But the past is the past, and I don't even really look back at the past. I study the past to understand the future, but I'm just trying to improve myself now and just trying to get as humble as possible and just really praying that we don't have a nuclear war and that we can just have a future. Used to I wanted to be number one, and I would get a little jealous of other people that were really successful. But the best thing in my life has been really realizing it's the human continuum and that we're all basically on the same journey together, and other people's success against tyranny is my success. So I'm the happiest I've ever been. And I just, all the persecution has been wonderful. It's really taught me a lot, and it's helped me be a better person. So I want to thank my enemies for everything they've done to me, and I want to encourage them not to be destroyed by their master that will destroy them. And I want to have a future with them on a planet we can all live on. And so I want to tell my enemies, I love you and I care about you, and Jesus loves you, and you just need to ask Jesus to come into your heart, and God will set you on the right path and forgive you. And that's really the answer. And I would just really encourage them to find God. Amen. Because let me tell you, God and the devil are real. You better get that straight.
Yep.
Where did this come from? How long did it take this epiphany phase? Because this is like what you're basically saying is like you've been humbled, right? You were at the top of the podium, and then boom, you've been brought down. Everything that's happened to you. Is it Pastor Rodney? Is it you're reading the Bible? You're praying for your enemies,
Well, I've always been I've always been a Christian, but then I kind of slip out of gear and turn into the Tasmanian devil. Literally, it's the angel and the devil. Like sometimes before I know it, I'm like, okay, I'm with the devil. Oh, wait. But I'm faithful to God. I want to be here, but I can jump over to the devil really easy. And so I've always been forgiven, and I've always loved other people's success. One of the best things, I've always been grateful, and it's just that I catch myself saying, well, I like that person, but still, they really do a great job. It's like, but that's all of our wealth together. And so really enjoying the wealth of other people's success is all our human success. Communists and socialists and authoritarians, totalitarians, in that movie, the book Oil that was made in the movie, There Will Be Blood, it's such a powerful scene. Maybe you can pull it up. It's only like 30 seconds long, where he says, Daniel Day-Lewis, probably one of the best actors ever, he says, I have a competition in me. I don't like to see other people do well. And I don't like other people. And he's like saying, I want to like you because you're my cousin. Then later he learns he's faking and he looks like his cousin. He kills him. But, imagine being alone like this. He says, I just want to have enough money to be left alone and be, completely walled off. And he's just not happy. And so I want to be the opposite. But you can't just be like, oh, everything's yours and I'm going to roll over to you. You've got to be strong for your family, strong for culture, fight tyrants to build a free market system where we don't make people be Christian, but they want to be Christian because that's the way they know that's going to be successful and empower them and have them be with God forever. And so it really is a fight, good versus evil. And now people that were agnostic, very famous people, are having spiritual experiences. Some of them are having incredible experiences with like angels and the Holy Spirit and God. Others are literally don't believe anything, are laying in their beds, and a huge black shadow comes in and just rips off their shirt and just huge bloody slashes across them, and then just throws them up against the wall. And then they start finding out, well, okay, what do they do? And they go to a rabbi and he says, put this Kabbalah on and do this ritual. Doesn't help them. They finally go get born again. All of it leaves. And this is happening with sane, well-known people that were, not atheists. They didn't hate Christians. They're like, come on, I don't really believe in God. And they're having the experience. Because if you don't have God around you as a defense shield, you are wide open, and the devil can't help it. And whatever this force, call it the devil, it's gotta, because if you're doing good work, but you don't know it's God and have God as literally a shield, it's like being in a submarine with screen doors. You're dead. And so this stuff's going to come in if you don't have God. And Alex, so that's why I'm talking about God, because I need to get closer to God. I need God. God is my refuge. God gets all the glory, not me.
Alex, you're saying accepting God, Jesus is the Lord and Savior. You're saying you have to accept Jesus. All right, well, I'm Jewish. Respect. We're the OG Christians.
Well, I'm not putting, no,
that's not what I'm asking.
No.
We have a lot of Muslim friends, a lot of Islam. Andrew Tate just turned to a Muslim.
Abrahamic faith, the whole
that's what I'm asking. Judeo-Christianity.
And I wasn't putting down the rabbi. This was a real story I was telling you. And that didn't work. So I'm not saying it wasn't a judgment.
That's what I'm asking.
Like this engine cleaner worked great. This one didn't. I wasn't like.
But your overall concept of faith and finding God, and a lot of you just said, sometimes I'm the God and sometimes I'm the devil, and everything's going on right there, and everything that you've uncovered with the satanic rituals and everything at the one place up in California, Bohemian Grove, and this, you talked about they're praying to the devil and they're sacrificing the children and everything like this. Do you feel like it's just a fight of believing in God versus the devil?
100%.
Is that what it comes down to?
Yeah, archetypes. I mean, for people that are, I'm not going to try to just push nothing but Christianity people, but that's what I believe, that's what I know. But absolutely, the first step is to realize there is good and evil. There's stuff we don't see. There's other dimensions. And none of these globalists are atheists. They're all into the occult. They're all into weirdness. They're all super neurotic. And, or they're super scared of God and just don't want to hear about it, like Rupert Murdoch.
Let's actually, by the way, if you want to play this clip that he was talking about with Daniel Day-Lewis, and then let's go into the Bohemian Grove.
And it's in the first minute or so.
Yeah.
Volume.
Okay, then don't worry about it. Good call. Okay,
But that's great.
Good
But great
call,
scene.
Andres.
Pause it, Rob. Okay, there you go. And just kind of go away from it. Okay, thank you, Andres, for that. So let's talk about Bohemian Grove. So, if for the audience that doesn't know, obviously Bohemian Grove has been done on by a lot of different people, but this is one of the first things that you did, almost like a vlog style. Before anybody was doing vlogs, Alex Jones was doing vlogs. This is a clip. Before we play this clip, can you tell everybody what this clip is all about before Rob plays it?
Sure. And again, people can search around and find HD versions of this at band.video. So, and I'm not telling you to go there, but if you go to band.video, you're welcome to use it all. And just type in Alex Jones, David Gergen, or Alex Jones, Bohemian Grove. You can find It's not in HD, but it's in a lot better quality. But all this stuff's out
Rob,
there.
it's fine. At this point, don't go looking about it. We're okay.
Go now. I'm just telling folks. So it's a plug. But you're right. So again, I'm a Christian. I believe in God, but God's kind of like something that happens on Sunday, and it's like a jacket I wear once a week. It's kind of like over here. I believe in God. I love Jesus. But devils and all this stuff, whatever. So I've been on there a few years, 4 or 5 years, and John Ronson, when I'm out there doing a story about the Waco massacre, and we're digging up the soil and stuff to show that they did fire in incendiary grenades to set the place on fire. And we actually found some of those. So we're out there digging, and this British film BBC crew comes along, and he says, his name's John Ronson. He says, Alex, I hear that you've snuck into some military bases and been able to, and which I'd done and shown some martial law training that was going on. He said, we have liability, and they won't let me get into Bohemian Grove, but I have a lawyer that works there who actually has some of the passcodes and things and how to not get kicked out with the Secret Service or the Monterey Sheriff Department that's all over the place, like 50 of them in there at least that I saw. But also Secret Service and others, because presidents of them go there, and royalty and Prince Charles and all of it. And he said, there's this big owl god, and they worship it on the 15th of July every year. I think they've now pushed it to later in July. But for 15 days in July, all these world leaders go there. It's 2,700-acre redwood grove. And he goes, I just need you to go in there with a hidden camera, and I need you to get us the footage, and then I need you to air it on your Access TV show, because my lawyers tell me, and they're just being honest about all this, my lawyers tell me that then we'll be able, once it's fair use and out in the open, you can give us the authorization to use it, but you've got to air it first. And he said, how much money do you want? And I said, well, okay, there's guys in the woods worshiping an owl. I said, is this the KKK or something? And he goes, no, it's very liberal. It was founded by Mark Twain, but then the president, Taft, took it over in 1900, which was all true. And I go, I've heard from some of the shortwave or militia people that there's a thing called Bohemian Grove, and they worship an owl. And so I did research and called him back, and I said, yeah, I'll do it. He says, okay, well, we're going to go this next July. This is like a year later. And so it comes time. I fly out there. A little, DV cams just come out, this little compact camera, put it in the fanny pack. And basically, it was all true. It happened. It was insane. And so you talk about making your faith stronger. Imagine the 5 hours I'm in there. So it's on the Russian River, totally beautiful. It's the biggest stand of redwood trees outside of the big national park in California. 2,700 acres of trees you could drive a truck through, okay? And so, and it's in the middle of a gorge and then goes out over the Russian River. So you can only get in one entrance, and it's a gorge. And the gorge entrance is about 100 yards wide, okay? And then there's hills that go up to it, and the most elite thing's called the chalet, where presidents and royalty go and have secret meetings. And I was never up at the chalet. I was down in the bottom, and I went back to the swimming platform, and then back to the front. And it was several miles in. And I got questioned several times by Secret Service. But just imagine, I get there, and it's copyright-free, trademark-free. You can use all my Bohemian Grove footage however you want. You can show it to people.
What's the best place to go to show some BTS, some behind the scenes?
I would say band.video, and I would just type in Bohemian Grove. Or it's on YouTube. You can type in Alex Jones Bohemian Grove, or Dark Secrets Inside Bohemian Grove, or The Order of Death's the second film I made about it. And it's colored.
Rob, just look for it on YouTube to see if it's easy to find it.
Yeah, you're welcome to show all the B-roll of it. And so, long story short, I'm going to talk for 5 hours about Bohemian Grove. It's July 15th, 2020. And so they've told me some of the passcodes. They've got maps from the internal members that they give the members. They gave me passcodes to different camps, because it's like little camps of cabins and stuff, and like bars and things there that are built all over. There's over 100 camps. And so they had told me that I should try to walk through and use the passcode to get in to the guard shack. But
do you remember what the passcode was?
It was stuff like, I'm with the Hillbillies, Red Mountain. That was, I'm with the Hillbillies.
I'm Alex Jones. I'm here with the Hillbillies. All right.
Well,
cool.
I chose that because that's the Bush's camp and the Texas camp. It's like a Texas camp that's kind of midway up. And that worked, and I had a few other passcodes. It was like Hillbillies.
Were you shocked when it worked?
What's the rest of the passcode? Well, that's what camp you're at. The passcode was Red Mountain.
Yeah. Were you shocked when it worked? You're like, holy shit, that just worked.
Well, I'll tell the story. So,
yeah.
so
oh my God, it worked.
So they pull up to the entrance, and there's like a bog and a little bit of a swamp right here off the road. And they go, okay, Alex, you're going to walk through. And I had a feeling, and I saw that they were pulling cars into park in a parking lot over here and picking them up on these big flatback buses that had the tops cut off, like 1940s buses, open air buses. And so it's like a double decker, but one deck, and it's just open. And I made a split second decision to step off and go through the barbed wire fence, because this is before the checkpoint, and just act like I was in the parking lot and get on one of those. And so we just sailed through.
Oh, wow.
Because Mike Hansen, my producer, also went in with me because it would be better to have two people. People aren't usually alone. And Mike is big and fat like me now, too. He's a great guy. but he was a really good-looking guy, and I was really good-looking. So I didn't understand what Nixon had said about it. I hadn't done that much research. Once we get in, immediately people start whistling at me.
Oh, man.
And so...
Whistling like in a sexual way?
Yes, and the workers are whistling at me. This is Nixon called it the most GD faggy thing you've ever seen. And
His quote.
That's a quote. That's a quote.
That's a White House
You
tape.
want to play?
Yeah, listen to this.
Play it.
This is his audio.
Let's look at Northern California. You understand? Yeah. You know what's happening in San Francisco just gone. It's clear over. I know that, but it isn't just down in the ratty part of town. But the upper class in San Francisco is that way. The Bohemian Grove that I attend from time to time, the Easterners and the others that come there. But it is the most faggy goddamn thing you will ever imagine in San Francisco crowd, because it's just terrible.
It's just terrible.
And he was quite the man's man, and could have been from our people that know Nixon, was supplying with the women. He was quite the opposite of a homosexual, and the reason he had the nickname Tricky Dick too. But the whole point is, well, that's a little inside lore.
Hey-o.
But anyways, I'm not gonna. Anyways,
So people are whistling at you and trying to like.
So you're
yeah. So
at the time you're young, you're hot, you're a young Alex Jones, you're on the scene. This is year 2000. They're whistling. Boom.
Yeah, so I'm immediately, so we get off, and I'm like, okay, I got a map here. I want to go see the owl. I'm going to make sure this is real, because the pond's supposedly only like a half mile down. So I'm going in the gorge, and people are walking by, and I'm like, that's a senator. I know who's that. You're recognizing people because you've seen them, but you're trying to think, who is that? They're basically all famous. And you're walking, is that a Hollywood guy? That's a major musician? Because they bring them all in as guests. So 1,000 members, but most guests bring one guest.
Oh.
The actual members bring one guest.
You
so
get a +1.
It's like 2,000 people. And so I saw Clint Eastwood when I was in there. I saw Danny Glover. And you want to say, hey, Clint Eastwood, but you don't do that. So it's like,
what
oh,
other
it's Clint
names?
Eastwood.
What other famous people did you see while you
A
were
lot
there?
of them I didn't have to go back in memory, but it was quite a few. And like, there's that senator, and there's like, oh gosh, that senator knows me. Kind of.
Oh my God.
So all of a sudden I'm walking by this big pond, like there's the big 45-foot owl. Oh my gosh. And they already had it, like getting it ready over by the side, like this band, like a mummy, but like a child. Oh, the mock sacrifice they burned. So I saw that, and like, okay. Because later people snuck back in, but never got video, but they got photos of it too. So over the years, I've learned more. So I go back down to the platform, takes me like a mile and a half back. This big platform above the Russian River is beautiful. And all of a sudden, hey, what are you guys doing? And it's the sheriff. And he's got another sheriff's deputy with him. And we're like, what's going on? I'm like, oh, just checking it out. It's beautiful. They're kind of looking at us like, yeah. And we know what you guys are, because we're like preppily dressed, And I guess their gaydar was on, but I'm not gay, but they thought I was. So.
You had a fanny pack too, so that kind of.
What did the sheriff mean? We know what you guys are. What did that mean? We know what you guys are.
No. He's like, what are you guys doing? And I'm like, oh, we're with the hillbillies. How are you doing? And
in that type of tone of voice.
Yeah, and he goes,
hillbilly.
He's like, what's the passcode? I go, Red Mountain. He goes, all right, well, have fun. So they go back.
So funny.
And then we go back, and I see like this big bar and music and all these guys walking around with wine and stuff. So I go, let's go in there. I want to drink. So I'm like, this is really whetting my appetite. I'm nervous. So I go, red wine. I go, red wine. And then guys are coming over, they're talking to me, and they're looking at me, and like, people are like, hey, what's going on? I'm like, whoa, this is like a gay bar. So I go, okay, I'm getting out of here. Me and Mike's like, what's going on here? And like, he goes, one of those guys just pinched me on the butt. I swear this happened. And so we go out, all of a sudden, it's Secret Service in like blue vests. Yes, what's your name? And I'm like, oh, Alan Johnson. What's up? And they didn't ask for it. They're like, well, who are you with? I'm with the hillbillies. And they go, okay. They didn't ask the code word, any of that. And so that goes on, and then we get questioned again. And this time, 2 golf carts pull up with more sheriff's deputies, and these are younger ones. They're like, who are you guys with? were you just down? So I said, yeah, I'm here with the Hillbillies. What's going on? I'm a guest. They said, all right. And I realized I was going uphill towards the chalet, and I said, maybe you're not supposed to go up here. This is like the bushes are down here. This is like royalty and people up here.
And just to make sure, are you filming this the whole time?
No, because they only had 1 hour tapes in this little camera. So I kind of had an hour getting in, and I got a little bit at the swimming platform and stuff. It's a 2-hour film, and then I got some right as it was getting dark, which is incredible. And then I got the ritual, and it ran out magically right at the end. So, but this is the rest of the story because I could talk about it for 10 hours, but it's amazing. So I tell Mike, I said, we've got to hide. And there's another crappy cabin. I go, I bet that's a worker cabin. And so I go in there, and Mike's like, this is nice. Let's just stay in here. And I say, no, we got to get under the building. They're going to find us in there. There's cameras. So we go out under the back in case they've got cameras and open up like a access panel, and we get under this thing, and there's like millipedes and spiders. He goes, I don't want to be in here. I said, we're staying here, buddy. We're about to get our cover blown. Okay. Yeah, there's footage I got, or photos of similar to the footage I got. So I'm up above that because the chalet's up here. Like we're talking steep in these golf carts that are going by. We're hiding up at a thing up above that. Starts getting dark, and I go, okay, let me reload the camera, get ready. I've got a little hole in it here with a hole in the front I can lift up. This is makeshift where I can hit the button on the back. And I say, let's go down. It's twilight. And we're walking down. There's bats flying in the air and stuff. It's real beautiful. And we're coming down this road, and there they're playing dun 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 dun. And there's a orchestra playing. And they're all eating, and there's these giant tables, and I can just smell the food. And that's looking good. I'm like 100 yards above it, looking down like this cat. But now it's getting dark, so I feel safe, and everybody's drunk by then. And there goes Danny Glover walking by. And there's a couple of these really old men. They go, and I'm not trying to be racial and feed into the whole leftist thing, but this is the old white guys. They go, I can't believe they let that GD in here. Like, it's all right. So this is kind of stuff you're picking up.
Danny Glover's the only black guy in there at the time?
I think they have more now, but this is 2000. This is like there's like 90-year-old billionaires in there. Like, what's that black person doing here?
Oh, goodness.
This actually happened. So, but it was like more like, what's that doing here? And like, it's all right, it's all right. And I think at a distance I saw Vernon Jordan or something too. But the point is that like Bilderberg, he's always the black guy that's there, and big lobbyist. And so that happens, and that's when I saw Clint Eastwood, because now everybody's going down to the water. So you go around the owl on this bank to then see the owl about 60, 70 yards away. And so now it's getting dark, and this high priest comes out in his white robes and red cape. And he's got the staff, and he says, "Let the dead who were here before us, their spirits be here." Oh, and so they go through like this cornucopia of like Babylon gods, and they summon all these different gods, and they say, "But we summon the most powerful, the goddess, to renew us the next year and give us strength and rebuild our bodies and give us the thing we need." And we bring an offering forward to our God so that we will be able to, put all of our sin and trouble onto it. And then this open, ornate, I'd say like 18th century British carriage comes out with big glass sides with a coffin on it, like a 5-year-old size coffin, like a 5-year-old child would be in. And they, a bunch of priests, like with a whole bunch of guys with torches. I got all this on video. Come out, guys with torches in front of the people. I think it was like 4 people bearing the coffin. They take the effigy of the child out and put it in front of it, and then I later learned it was the voice of Walter Cronkite. He did it like right before he died, and so it's like, "Be gone, Duncan!" And it's like, "We forward to feed you now!"
Yeah, screaming. It's on. Yeah.
And then it's like, "Please don't kill me, no, please!" Like, "Yes, we're gonna kill you!" And I'm sitting there going, like it's a play. I think they're not taking this serious. And I'm having to kind of stand up on the bottom of the redwood knobs because a lot of these guys are bigger than me. I'm only like 5'10", trying to get the camera over. So I'm kind of like up on the tree, and there's these guys that are looking at me, all these old men, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, "Where's Clint Eastwood?" I just saw him, yeah. And these old men are sitting there, just going. Because like I'm a Christian, but you go to like a Holy Roller church, and then it's great and it's wonderful, but they're like enraptured, and you're like, wow, these people were, but like in a satanic type deal. They were just going, And I'm like, hey, this is pretty cool. And he goes,
Oh my God.
and I'm just like, and Mike was kind of, hey, how's it going? They're like, this is important.
Oh my
It's
God.
like, and so you're like, they're dead serious.
Serious.
And this is the Karl Rove of 5 administrations now, of like 4 at the time. And
David Gergen has been
4
all over
years
the map.
later
Yeah.
at the RNC in New York.
Yeah.
And I've got full credentials and stuff, and I'm waiting to go in and do more interviews on Radio Row.
Oh, real quick before we get to this, the guys, are they praying? Are they in the rapture? These devilish faces
they're not
that
doing
they're
like
making.
people do at a Christian church. To,
Yeah,
you
where
know,
they're on the roller coaster.
Yeah, well, I mean, they feel the Spirit of God. It's good to do that, and reach out to God.
So this is
They're standing there going like,
They're possessed.
They're soaking it all in.
By the way, where is this when you confront him?
New York, Alex?
What location?
This is Madison Square Garden,
Okay, let's see.
the VIP entrance.
Go ahead and play it, Rob.
And that's the Bohemian Grove. And back in, 1996, when you joined as a Clinton advisor, the Republicans were criticizing you. Oh, what about Bohemian Grove? And then you countered them by saying, hey, I don't run around in the woods naked. What did that mean? Here is the before-mentioned Washington Times article where he said, I didn't run around naked like they do.
I don't know what quote you're referring to. I'm not aware of any quote like that. Listen, I am a happy member of the Bohemian Grove. I like the folks who come there, and it's really inappropriate for me to talk about the group beyond that.
Whoa.
Thank you.
Have you been there for the ceremony with the cremation of care?
Frankly, I don't think that's something I need to talk to you about.
This is it.
Bohemia, we thank thee for thy adoration.
That's Walter Cronkite's voice. He later got documents, their internal documents.
Have you been there for the ceremony with the cremation of care?
Frankly, I don't think that's something I need to talk to you about.
Really?
That's right.
Well, I'm Alex Jones, and I snuck in there in 2000. I'm the guy that blew it wide open.
Look how mad he
Got
gets.
the video. It's been on national TV.
Well, I disrespect you for that.
You do?
I do.
Because they got mad. He
There's
knew
a
who
lot
I
of
was.
big public officials going in there.
You
Don't
took-
we deserve to know?
You took I don't know anything about you, and I don't know anything about your film. But if you go in there with an understanding, you violated that understanding by releasing that film, and I don't respect you for that.
Really? But we have public officials there
I'm
that
sorry.
are
You
public.
took an understanding when you went in there that you would not do that film, and you did you have an understanding when you went in there?
It's a secret society,
Did you
Alex.
crash it?
Yes.
Yeah, and it has no trespassing signs there too, doesn't it?
No, they put them
Yes,
up
it-
after.
Oh, I'm
I just
sorry.
walked in.
I'm sorry, sir. I've been there before. I know what the circumstances are, and I'm sorry you violated the understanding.
They did put up
that
more
was
after
not that was not a gentlemanly thing to do.
But what about the ritual? Is the ritual genuinely?
Like, what is, dude? It looks like a movie. It's like Eyes Wide Shut.
Sir, everything. I don't owe you this comment.
I know, I appreciate
This is what's called ambush journalism, and I disrespect you for that as well. So thank you,
ever
and goodbye.
been in the ritual?
It's none of your damn
Look,
business.
oh, he would have hit you if he could, Alex.
That's right.
Look at
Listen. You go
I was trying to
around
manipulate him. I was
and
like,
make
yeah.
understandings with people and violate them. You ambush people on the streets, and that's inappropriate form of journalism. If you wish to practice that, that's fine, but don't ask others to respect you for it. If you want to, you can do. You're a free American, like anything you want. If you want to be uncivil and rude and ungentlemanly, that's up to you. But don't expect the rest
You
of
guys
us
are
to
setting
say, "Oh well,
policy in
you're
there,
one."
Mr. Gergen.
I'm sorry, nobody sets policy in there. We try to be gentlemen, and obviously, you don't belong there.
Weaving spiders coming out here? Yeah, that is a three-pointer. Woo!
But that guy is no lightweight. He's been a presidential advisor for
No,
Carter,
he's basically
Nixon,
the
Reagan,
president. Yeah.
Clinton. He's still on CNN.
I don't know if it was Carter. I think it was Ford, but he's been around the block. He's been around the block doing. So after that, what else did you learn about Bohemian Grove?
Well, there's a whole nother story. So, we get in the hotel. They want copies of it, so they have their digital camera, our digital camera. We transfer it. They check it. It's there. I watch them check it on their little TV. They have a film crew outside waiting on me. They mail it to World of Wonder in L.A. It comes erased. Then they get me to send them another copy that I saw had it. That one gets stolen. And then we had to mail it from somebody else's house to one of their crew members' houses. So they were intercepting our footage. This is like CIA stuff, trying to get it to the producers and stuff so they would have a copy. Obviously, I had my original, and I went off and put out my film. But I got some really serious death threats over it. I had some stuff happen, and but
you want to play the John Ronson clip on what he said, because he wanted to take credit for the whole thing, I believe, right? Yes or no? I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. What's sad is he does get credit for it, but he's such a liar. He's since then written pieces about me that are totally untrue. He went and created a history piece for NPR on whatever their big Sunday show is, American Roads, whatever it is. I forget the name. And it's literally completely made up. It's like an origin story that I would beat up nerds, and nerds got me and tied me up in a barn and knocked all my teeth out. And when he was fact-checking, I said, my dad's a dentist, but I'll go to a doctor. They can x-ray that none of my teeth have ever been knocked out. And he goes, well, they still want me. So he made this whole fake origin story about me. Because he wrote an article saying, I feel like I have to destroy Alex Jones because I feel like I made him. Because Bohemian Grove did explode. No, I made myself go in there and getting it, buddy. And you were part of it. But he said, I am enraged that I made Alex Jones, because Bohemian Grove really put me on the map. I mean, I was already successful and big, but it exploded back then. And so, yeah, I one morning I get a call from Mike Hansen, and he goes, because he would get up really early, he goes, John Ronson's on C-SPAN lying about us and all this other stuff. And here he didn't go all the way. On the Brian Lamb thing, he basically took some credit but said I was like a bad guy. Then he went on Coast to Coast AM, who I was friends with, the host, and I knew what was going on, so I was tuned in. Well, I just called into the studio while he was talking to him and said, this is a lie. I have the contract right here. He made me sign a contract that they would have rights to it, but I wouldn't tell anybody about it because they needed me to air it so they could air it. So I did this thing with him, this conspiracy, it's not illegal, to cover his ass, and then he gets up there and says, I'm bad, when he basically quarterbacked it, and then claims he snuck in and got the footage and stuff. Well, yeah, later he went the lawyer and the passcodes came in, but he didn't get the footage, which, by the way, he'd sworn me to secrecy in a contract to never say he went in. Then he spins it around and says that I was taking the credit from him. Years after his documentary comes out saying I snuck in and giving me all the credit. I mean, the guy it's like the left doesn't know we can check what they said before. It's so annoying. And I don't even hate this guy. He is the biggest weasel. I mean, I was glad he got me in there. I was thankful. But then he literally creates an NPR hour-long documentary about me that's literally not true. Other than one guy that attacked me, and I did body slam him or knock him over, and he was in a coma for a while. That's the only thing. But why wasn't I arrested? Because all the witnesses said he attacked me and outweighed me by 60 pounds. So yes, that part of the story is true. That's it. But I didn't get arrested. But I mean, it's all crap.
So the whole story behind the Bohemian Grove is these guys come together to do what? Do they do deals? Are they making decisions? Are they? It's no longer as private as it once was. They're no longer.
I will tell you what it is, and then this is where it really gets interesting. So I don't know much about it when I sneak in. It's like, okay, you're going to pay me to sneak in and get guys worshiping an owl. Sure. Okay, I'll sneak into your camp. I mean, I wanted a free trip to Northern California. Okay, so again, I'm a Christian, but I'm like, okay, devils and devil worship. That's what people do in on acid and trailer parks. Okay, the world of the leader not worshiping an owl. Okay, okay, this is what crazy people on meth do.
This is what actual hillbillies do.
Yeah, well, the only time I ever heard about devil worshipers is weirdos in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And so long story short, what was the part I was going to get to? Oh, so after I do this, I start with my P.O. box. About a year after, we go to the P.O. box, and there's this big green book, and it's the annals. So I think they only come out like every 4 years. It's a 4-year annal. I've got it somewhere around the office. It disappeared at the office, but somebody stole that thing. But the point is, and later these things would sell for like $10,000 on what's that thing? eBay. I mean, I didn't sell them, but people started selling them because the guys die, and their wives and family get them, and they don't tell their kids, hey, that's a super valuable book that there's only 100 of made every year. So there's these big bound books, green books. Some of them are red, some are. But the point is, the first one I get is green. I open it up. It's color photos of their rituals, them dressed up like women, all this gay stuff, pictures of all the world leaders. It's like that thick. I put it on the internet. So, and the problem is, Infowars had problems and crashed the old model. We had trouble putting back up. But yeah, there it is. There's an example. Type in vintage photos Bohemian Grove. And then once I exposed it, National Geographic put out them in satanic black robes doing a human sacrifice with a man and a dagger. So once I exposed it, the floodgates opened, And so they went ahead and put it in National Geographic. They have mock sacrifices of black people. There's one right there in the lower right-hand corner, lower left-hand corner. That's a lower left-hand.
This one here, Alex?
Yeah, they would do mock lynchings of black people.
What?
Man, you can't make this up, okay?
Oh, my God.
And they would actually really kill people is the word. And a lot of kids disappear in the area. But that's an inner cult. So let me tell you what it is.
Look, they're hanging somebody in the middle on the middle one.
Rob, skip through this, Rob.
Yeah.
We got it. Go ahead. Keep saying it.
I'm not making any of this up. This is so insane. So all of a sudden, I show this animal on air, and I scan it onto my website, InfoWars. Now it's getting millions of views. And all of a sudden, about a month later, they go, hey, boss, another one came. And then another one, and another one. And I got this stuff back to the 20s.
Oh, my God.
So I got, and there's smaller books of the 20s and black and white photos, this stuff. And it's like mock killing black children and mock killing little girls. And like there's Reagan and Eisenhower and Nixon right there. And that was in the animal. I put that out.
So this is not just a left thing
I scanned that on my
thing?
scanner at my house. I mean, I got that.
Oh, wow.
So this is the stuff. That's one from like the 70s. And so that's where all this goes down. And so then I became an expert on it. And then the media would do stuff like, well, it doesn't exist, but here it is and it's harmless. You know, that weird thing they do. Like, sure, it gives you blood clots, but they're harmless. So cancer, yeah, it's connected to cancer, big deal. Everybody gets it. So remember all those articles? Now cancer is up, but it's no big deal. But that's what I'm telling you. People, that's why I'm so animated. When I'm hanging out with the pastor and stuff, they go, man, you're like low energy when we're driving here. And you want to go take a nap. When I start accessing all the stuff I've done in 29 years, it's all just completely insane. It all happened. I mean, I've got stories even crazier than this. And now the stuff I've learned, and it's just, we're not in Kansas anymore. We were never in Kansas. And these people, so here's what it is. I learned this from their annals, and it mentioned Men in Powers, a political retrospective, written by Helmut Schmidt, the German chancellor. And so I went to the library, found the book. The library had to send off for it. And he says in the book, and it's in my film, shots of it, he said, we love our rituals, our druidic sacrifices in Germany and in other areas because we're druids. But my favorite place to do our druidic rites is at the chapter of, the Order of Death at Bohemian Grove. And so what it is a Germanic death cult that's part of it, that then founded Skull and Bones. And then Skull and Bones members learned about this. Mark Twain had set it up where they just partied and got drunk and brought in prostitutes. That got shut down. It became an all-male club. And it was always all-male, but they made the hookers stay like a camp right by it, which is now hotels where the hookers stay today.
Like gentlemen do.
Yeah, like the men are in here, but the male prostitutes get brought in. Exactly. And so basically it's a recruiting ground. And so, and they don't just have Skull and Bones at Yale. They have these Skull and Bones at all the elite Ivy League colleges where they go, hey, son, we're bisexual devil worshippers, and you're the firstborn son, and you're doing good at Yale. You go get in these coffins. You have demons enter you. You have gay sex. You get urinated on. You bathe for 3 days and baptize in feces. And this is all in The Good Shepherd, produced by Robert De Niro, starring Matt Damon, which is a true story about the founding of the CIA out of Skull and Bones. And it shows them bathing in feces and urinating on each other. This is real. And Charlotte Iserby's dad was in it. She released the documents to the church committee hearings in the 70s, the first time they started to come out. So most of the members have been inducted into these cults. And then and then this is just like for graduates of it, they go to this, and then they get to recruit somebody they like to see if they want to be part of it. And it's not all homosexual. A lot of the guys are heterosexual, and there's a lot of famous bands in there. I mean, you name it, that come and play. And there's a lot of famous actors, and it's not just like dudes everywhere running around having sex with each other. But I mean, that's the big overhang of it, and that's it. And I mean, this is how they can. So that's just the entrance.
Is this a way to
compromise?
Well, I don't know about compromise. Is this a way of, now that we have this on you, we can control you forever and we can have it from the beginning? Is that one method? Because
yes, and then they move on to the Jeffrey Epstein method. You nailed it. This is about compromising people.
Okay, so if I invite you to Epstein, now that you've been here, guess what? For the rest of your life, we're gonna say you've been at this party. If we want to leak it to the media, And in one way or another, you're controlled and compromised because the world can think about, well, maybe if you went there as well, you did something as well. So,
and this is key what you just said. I should have got to this the first. This is their whole, whether it's Nexium or whether it's Jeffrey Epstein or whether it's this, it's all these different feeders basically of the same group to see what they want. Do they want women? Do they want money? Do they want men? Do they want power? And yes, they then, the elite Ivy League people put their kids in it, and then they teach them how to go out and recruit other people.
what a shitty way of being arrested for the rest of your life, knowing you're controlled, if that's the case.
Well, imagine your dad when you're going to Yale says, son, you're the captain of the football team. Now it's time for you to go lay in a coffin and have men have sex with you and defecate all over you. And you're like, Dad, I don't want to do that.
I have a hard time believing that. I have a hard time believing
Robert De Niro made a movie about it, and it's in the annals. People broke in there. They've got all these.
I have a hard time a father telling his boy, you're going to go be a captain, and they're going to have sex with men, but for the rest of your
well, I mean, it's their buddies get them into it, and but the parents are the ones that send them to this.
Yeah, I mean, you know, maybe a father has done that who's psychologically off, but I don't see that as.
Well, listen, they admit the ritual there is days laying in a coffin, wanting entities to enter you and to get a new personality, and they get urinated on, and they swim in vats of feces.
Well, urinated on. There's a
no. Type in satanic skull and bones ritual scene, The Good Shepherd. I mean, this is Robert De Niro produced a movie.
That's a movie, though.
But listen, Charlotte Iserby's dad was in it. She got the annals of it and leaked it to the Senate. This stuff came out in the U.S. Senate.
All right, so that's one story. We can leave it at that.
I know it sounds over the top. Believe me.
No, listen.
I didn't believe when they said they worship an owl.
Yeah. No, to me, there is worshiping an owl is strange for sure, but people have worshiped a lot of weirder things. You know, if it's a 48-foot owl or whatever it is, the worshiping of weird things has been around since biblical times. It's nothing new that people do. You know, there should be no other God. I mean, this isn't anything new that happens. But for a father to say that to his son, that's a little weird. The part about trying to control you for the rest of your life, because they know if you're going to Yale or Harvard, you're going to be one of these fraternities and Skull and Bones. They know you're probably going to be somebody, right? John Kerry is Yale.
Exactly. He's Skull and Bones.
Yes, he's Skull and Bones. So they know this dude's probably going to be somebody. He's from the right family. Let's get him from now so we can control him forever. I can believe a part of that.
No, that's it. That's why we have the Harvard and Yale Mafia.
Yeah.
I mean, look at that's what I'm telling you is, and what I said is technically wrong. I'm just talking fast. It's like the parents send their kids there to be recruited into this. I don't think the dad says you're going to go do this. The dad is pushing them into this to see if they'll go along with it. Because you've got to debase yourself. You've got to prove you're going to do this stuff. You've heard fraternities want you to have sex with a goat. Well, it's all about debasing yourself.
Yeah.
So, and that's what happens at Skull and Bones. I mean, again, Robert De Niro, respected guy, he produced a movie about the history of the CIA being founded at Skull and Bones and used the Senate annals and what came out in Anthony Sutton to make the movie. Guys, what you want to talk about is the Good Shepherd ritual scene into like YouTube.
We can't play it, but I understand what you're saying from the movie side. So let's. Can
I take a 2-minute break?
Yeah, of course.
And by the way, folks, you can find all this at Infowars.com, and I need your support. We have signed and unsigned copies of The Great Reset and The War for the World at InfowarsStore.com, and I thank you for letting me do that.
Alex, if you want to use the restroom, or
yes,
sir. Okay, use the restroom. Come back. We're going to transition into the Russia story, which, by the way, I don't know if you guys are following the story or not.
They're advancing.
On the cover of CNN, on the cover of Wall Street Journal, on the cover of every website you go on, the main story right now, Rob, if you want to pull this up, we'll tee this off before he comes in. The main story everybody's talking about right now is what just happened with Russia. Okay, Russia and Wagner Group. Russia's put in orders military to crush Wagner Group. Grab calls it treason. Now, here's a few things you need to know about what this is. Number one, the guy behind Wagner Group is a guy named, I want to pronounce this correctly, Yevgeny Prigozhin. Okay, Prigozhin, that's his name, Yevgeny Prigozhin. He's a billionaire. It's like the Blackwater of Russia. And this guy's called his men to oust the country's military leadership, meaning he's going directly against Putin's military. So we got to oust the military leadership, and he claims the war on Ukraine was based on false pretenses. They have roughly 25,000 soldiers. Okay, these are a lot of former ex-Navy SEALs. You know, these are guys that are, you know,
mercenaries.
These are not regular types of. These are people that believe in the cause of what's happening and not doing their job because they have to do their job. They're doing their job because they believe in what Yevgeny is talking about. Sometimes people like this are true believers. You know, 10 soldiers that are true believers going against 100 that are just doing their jobs. Sometimes the 10 has an edge over the other 100 because they believe exactly in what they're doing. So
Robin Hood.
Exactly. So Putin responded, the actions of Wagner Group are seen as treason. There's a warrant out for him right now. They got bombed. I think he claims they got bombed. Their unit got bombed. They're bombing some, gas, different kind of places that they're taking out. Putin is telling them to get this guy here, this guy being a billionaire. There's a lot of stuff that's going on right now in Russia. Do you have the clips, Rob, to show on what's going on there? I think there's whether it's Putin giving a speech or him giving a speech or the explosion. I think one of the videos, Vinny, you may have given to him.
Yeah, see, because Pat, they're advancing right now towards. They're saying they're going towards Moscow right now. He's advancing through the streets, and there's a bunch of vehicles blown up, and they're on to the side, and he's actually advancing there right now.
What's this here, Rob? Lower the music just so we don't have to. Is there any other thing to? So this is what? This is them pulling up to who?
Well, they took over a city called Rostov, right?
Okay.
And now they're basically marching towards Moscow, 25,000 soldiers. A lot of them actually recruited from prisons and penal camps. And they're basically saying that this is the most serious threat internally in Russia
essentially
since
a civil
took
war.
over since 2000.
A civil war in a country that has twice the nuclear weapons we have.
And it's happening right now.
So, Alex, what are your thoughts on what's going on right now in Russia? Obviously, it's a breaking story. It's all over the place on cover of every website. This is all they're talking about. What do you know about the story?
Absolutely. I'm glad we just spent an hour and a half on me, but I was like, let's not talk about me because what I really do study is geopolitics. Of course, you're a special ops guy. I know your history. You're super smart. I watch your show all the time. You know what you're talking about. So I really look forward to me shutting up here and what you have to say because I'll be honest with people. I didn't talk about the submarine until Friday because I wanted to see all the pieces. And they lied to us about that. They knew it blew up on Sunday. They used it as a distraction, bare minimum. And I'm sorry for the dead. But on this subject, last night we're driving in here, and I'm seeing this news, and I'm thinking, this is so dangerous, this can't be real. And then we were out to dinner late, and I saw it last night that it looked like it was real, but I just couldn't fathom it. So I spent a lot of time this morning researching this. Is obviously very fast moving, but let me just tell listeners and viewers, and I think you'll probably agree with me, and any other mainline military analyst would. This is the most dangerous development in modern history with nuclear weapons, okay? Ladies and gentlemen, Russia has tactical nukes and intermediate range and long range weapons all over Western Russia. Their submarines are off our coast. If you know Russian history, if a leader fails a war, they always kill him. Putin is a softliner compared to the hardliners that are trying to take control. And I don't know who's working with NATO. I don't know if it is, how do you pronounce his name? I have trouble.
Yevgeny?
Yes. How do you say his last name? I always butcher it. The point is that I'm having one of those moments.
Prigozhin, this guy?
Prigozhin, yes, Prigozhin, if I'm saying it right. Prigozhin. I have trouble with the Russian. And
Prigozhin.
See, even though it's him a Russian agent, I don't know anything about it. But anyways, Prigozhin, I'm trying to draw the data up right now. Prigozhin is obviously one of these billionaire oligarchs that runs these catering companies. And he does a lot of psyops with Putin, is reportedly Putin's best buddy. And he's a former prisoner and all the rest of it. And
he's a former friend of Putin.
Well, Putin's now saying he wants to arrest him, yes. Well, you guys have all the latest developments. What I'm saying is this. We know that NATO has back channels with the Russian Central Command, and they're both working to not have a nuclear war behind the scenes. So the question is it the Russian, here's the different scenarios. I want to hear your take on it. Is the Russian military working with the West? Is Prigozhin working with the West that heads up the Wagner Group? Or are neither of those sides really working with NATO? And this is really an internal power struggle. And then the other question is, well, will NATO back one of the two? And then separately, is this really the Russian military that just bombed Prigozhin and his troops, they're going to act like Prigozhin launches this attack, and then they're really going to kill Putin and then say it was Prigozhin. This is serious cloak and dagger, fog of war. I don't think Putin really knows what's going on because that's how Russia operates. It's total. Everybody works in unison until the knives come out. And right now, they're about all these different factions. All this stuff's going on. And the last time they moved the chairs around in 1999, when Boris Yeltsin disappeared, we got Putin. So I don't think we know. What we do know is Russia is now under martial law, and Moscow is under martial law. And 30,000 battle-hardened ex-convict survivors of the 60,000, because half of them died, that were sent to Ukraine, who are credited with winning most of the battles, because Prigozhin says that the Central Command is working with the West and losing on purpose, and that they're trying to undermine things to take out Putin. And he says Putin needs to believe him. Now they say he's trying to come kill Putin. So Putin, we haven't seen him say this, but we've seen him in text say it, that he's going to get Prigozhin. And so I don't think we know at this point. This is unbelievably riveting. This just gives me unlimited adrenaline. I mean, I'll guarantee you I'm going to be scanning and reading and up. I'm going to go do an emergency broadcast today from the pastor's place. I've been here working the whole time, but I just absolutely have to do this. I'm glad we're here covering it. And now I'd like to hear all the latest developments from you guys and then see what you think.
Alex, is this one of those things where, they say that the enemy of my enemy is my friend? Because this guy, Prigozhin, the United States has issued an arrest warrant for him in 2018. This has to do with something to do after the 2016 election. We can go there. But he's no friend of the states. They have an arrest warrant for him. So I know that you kind of alluded, like, what's NATO's involvement here? What's going on here? Is this an internal struggle? You're absolutely right. There's
he headed up the internet.
There's more questions than answers right now.
But the average American is going to be like, oh, he's going to Putin, go get him. Americans that don't know anything are going to be cheering for this guy to get Putin out. But they have no idea what the hell they're talking about.
You just brought it to the key.
Yep.
And that's why I had to brainstorm first. There's so many pieces, and then I come up with my answer. The bottom line is Putin is a middle-of-the-road guy compared to the hardliners. Prigozhin wants martial law and nuclear war with the West. He's completely psychotic. Yeah. I've watched his videos where he says it, and he's fearless, too. He's out there on the front lines for like a year and a half. The guy's a maniac. And so, Patrick, what do you think? The bottom line is, oh, yeah, exactly. Let's get rid of Putin.
Yeah.
Then there'll be a whole new power struggle, and you'll get a much more radical Russia. What do you guys? And that's why Soros and the West were crazy 9 years ago to overthrow the Ukrainian government and then run these ops against the Russians to get them to come in. Make no mistake, I'm not for the Russians either, but the West started this.
You're basically saying, be careful what you wish for. You want Putin out of there? Who's next in line?
Yeah. Absolutely.
And for everybody that was like, Trump and Russia and all the Russia, none of this would have been happening if Trump was in. So
absolutely.
Congratulations for voting for Biden, because this is what you get.
Alex, you're saying that this guy's even more hardline, anti-West, anti-NATO than Putin?
Prigozhin is 5 times worse than Putin.
Really? How do you know that? Like, what kind of research have you done on
I have trouble pronouncing his name, but I've been studying him for 20 years. I knew who this guy was 20 years ago. I've watched. He's always been there. He's been Putin's right-hand man since he was president. Before that, they came up together in St. Petersburg.
What can you tell us about the essence of the Wagner Group? He heads this, but what's the whole purpose of these guys?
Well, let's do this first, and then because there's a key point I want to make here. Or give me a pen, I'll write it down. I'll remember to do it. But if I don't, I'll forget. Let me answer your question. Okay, thanks. What is the Wagner Group? I'll do that, and then I'll do. I forgot what I was going to say. It was key. Sorry. That's how my brain works. Prigozhin. You're asking what the Wagner Group does?
Yes.
Okay, it was started 20 years ago by Putin, roughly, as his own private mercenary army to kill people he wanted killed inside Russia with plausible deniability, and then to kill people around the world, and to go take over with mercenary forces in the third world, just like China and the U.S. does, and take resources. So they go around and pillage, and they also assassinate people for Putin.
And apparently they're currently all over North Africa, the Middle East, Syria. They were the ones that helped invade Crimea, and they're all over Ukraine right now.
They're all over Ukraine, and they've been one of the most effective forces. And Prigozhin has been saying in the last year and a half since it started, I know the weapon systems, and he's proven he's a good military commander, and I've got military guys, that he got out of prison, That's like Moses' force. You military, you're out. And a lot of these are, former special forces guys, some of the best Russian military they've got. And they're all saying the military is losing on purpose. We think they made a deal with the West and they're going to take out Putin. He's been saying that for a year. And so that's why I think they may have tried to kill Putin and blame Prigozhin. Because how does he think with 25,000 troops, if he can't take Ukraine and he's only taking some cities, how's he going to go take on the Russians that have got 10 times the force?
Rob, can you do me a favor? Just pull up the WSJ story and let's just read the whole thing. So what is Wall Street Journal that just came out? They're fairly reasonable and in the middle. What's Wall Street Journal saying? Let's just read this. So President Putin said Saturday he ordered military to act against Wagner parliamentary group that sees the Russian stomach. Okay, you've got that. As Wagner columns move towards Moscow Saturday, they were attacked by Russian aircraft in the Voronezh region, some 300 miles south of the capital. Videos from the area show the city main fuel depot ablaze. A K-52 helicopter destroying a vehicle and another helicopter narrowly escaping a Wagner anti-craft missile. A Russian plane was also shot down. Okay. The crisis unfolding in Russia represents the most serious challenge to Putin's 23-year rule, a direct consequence of the strains put on Russia's society and armed forces by the war that he unleashed against Ukraine in February of last year. If the Wagner Group insurrection isn't put down swiftly, the strife could significantly undermine Russia's frontline troops in Ukraine, just as Kiev carries out a Western-backed offensive to Ukraine-occupied lands. The uprising lands are already emerging. Russia's society challenges Putin's strategy of waging a long war against Ukraine. Okay, so that's not saying anything.
And what Prigozhin is saying, we've withdrawn because our half our troops died to the western edge of Russia. They began to bomb us this morning. We are not advancing. This is a lie. And see, notice the footage they say they have is of fuel depots and their bases getting blown up. So the military sees them as a threat and is taking them out. But here's the larger question. And please continue, but I want your take on this. Notice the timing of this. What happened in the last 2 months? The Ukrainians launched their counteroffensive 2 months ago, not 2 weeks ago, in probes. Then they launched their main attack, and not hundreds, but 10, like 400 or 500. I've watched the videos. I spent days searching, and it's not duplicates. The Russians, it takes 3 times the troops and armor to take a position, and you know this from the military, than it does to defend it. So the Russians got torn up going in, but now the Ukrainians have got to go into their defenses. And so it got destroyed. And I've confirmed this from sources in the military, not just what was in the news. And even CNN admits, okay, the offensive got destroyed. Most of the equipment got destroyed, like half of it. They've still got half the stuff the West sent. They're sending more, but they don't have troops to operate it because you got to train them. And so the Russians just destroyed this counteroffensive. Then magically it kicks into gear for a coup against Putin. That's the next phase. If they can't drive them out and have that victory, then next we get Putin. And so again, is the high command working with the West to get rid of Prigozhin and Putin and set up their new Russia system, maybe with the West, maybe not. We don't know which group this is. The timing of that fits with the West with the Russian system cutting off Prigozhin and Putin because these guys are best friends. Now, I'm not saying that's what's happening, but you know Putin isn't sure. And so right now he's like, okay, we're going to get Prigozhin, but I think Putin's main issue is going to be his own military and his own system. Or maybe he's killing his best friend and does see him as a threat. We don't know. But the Russian defense just annihilated the Ukrainians in the last 2 months. So why is this coming now? The West would normally go to this next. But this isn't overthrowing Saddam by buying off his generals. This is Russia, and this is dangerous as hell.
And this is the same week, too, that we accidentally sent them, $6.2 billion? The Pentagon was like,
absolutely.
Whoops, we sent Ukraine all this.
200 billion's really been sent over the last couple of years, and guaranteed half that's coming right back to the globalists, right back to the big guy.
100%.
So here's, obviously, it's too early to tell what's really going on, but if you think about it, those who are for Ukraine, this is a beautiful thing, because what happens when it's shown that the country is divided? That's an easy way to come in and capitalize off of
this. This is horrible for Russia.
This is horrible for Russia. It's absolutely horrible.
And now
for
the Ukrainians,
Russia.
are going to launch the next counteroffensive because they only use half their force. Now the Russians don't know what the hell's going on.
The Russians going to have to withdraw some of the troops from Ukraine to go fight this to fight in Russia.
Exactly. So then who do you think's really behind this?
It's
The West has the motive, has the timing. I'm not saying it's that but now we have 60%. It's like a computer. 60% of the evidence with the motive, the timing, the history, the background, how the West operates says it's the West. And as we get more data, I'm not going to sit there and just get data that I want to agree with. If I get more data showing that this is what's really happening, Prigozhin tried this and it's crazy, that's a classic Russian power play, then I'll go back to, well, now it's a 60% chance that it's as we're being told. But I'm just keep taking data, and usually as I take that data, then as it gets closer, it's almost always the analysis I had. And that's how real intel stuff happens.
So what is the difference? I mean, this you were saying happened to Yeltsin, and now they're on track for doing it with him as well. 23 years. He's been running it, right? We're talking about since 2000. It's been Putin running.
And he does look sick. He probably has thyroid cancer.
Yeah. Do you think so? When you're saying this could be, catastrophic, et cetera, from the nuclear standpoint?
The bottom line, this is super destabilization with the number one nuclear power in a war zone. This is just on a scale of 1 to 10. This is like a 9.8. I mean, this is like
because why? Because why?
Because
because if he retaliates, because if Putin's like, I'm sick of it and I'm going to retaliate at Ukraine, or why
all
is
of
this?
it, exactly. They have a RAND Corporation threat ladder that's got 43 stages. Pull up the RAND Corporation, 43 stages of escalation. And this came up with this in the 60s, and it's still followed globally as doctrine. The Russians adopted this as well. And it's the stages of escalation. So it's the stages of military escalation. Yeah, there it is. And so one of the reports, they're updating it. We're already at stage 29. Well, when you get up, in any much more, it's nuclear war. It's tactical, and it goes through what both sides do. And you've got a dictator, a strong man, all this with nuclear weapons, all these forces battling him, all this craziness. What if Putin falls? What if the whole thing disintegrates? And then where'd all the nukes go? Or what's Ukraine going to do? And then other power groups, Poland's been talking about grabbing part of Ukraine that was always part of them. I mean, it's just like World War II. Once this stuff starts, it just gets out of control.
The only difference is for people that hear that and sometimes they get, panic. Oh my God, is this going to lead to World War III? Is this the difference, from my understanding, the difference between the access Putin has to nuclear bombs versus the way we have it. He can't just press a button and approve it. There's got to be multiple layers of approval that he has versus the way we have it, right?
He's in total control.
No. That's not how it works.
Okay.
If you can pull up the nuclear protocol for Russia, there is a different layer of approval for him to choose to do something like that. Look, let's face it. From in the last 100 years, how many times has a nuclear bomb been dropped?
Twice.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Hiroshima, Nagasaki.
But if a guy, Pat, with dirty bombs and little suitcase bombs, and for a guy that is dying, and a guy that's dying is pretty much, it looks like they're attacking the Capitol and about to take him over. Why not just be like, if I'm going down, I'm going down with the ship.
Well, here's the deal. Why do you think he just gave nukes to Belarus? That's his backup.
Oh, wow.
Rob, is that it?
It says here, following the American pattern, the unlock and launch authorization codes held by the general staff at their command centers can be sent directly to individual weapons commanders who would execute the launch procedures. The crews on board dock submarines have demonstrated the ability to fire while surfaced at Pier side within 9 to 15 minutes after receiving the order. The other alternative, the general staff could direct missile launches directly from command centers in the Moscow vicinity or alternative facilities throughout the country. But it doesn't say that Putin could directly launch it himself.
The way they have it is, which I think that's the right way to do it. I don't think a nuclear call should be.
I think it's dangerous that Biden has that crazy man that doesn't know who he is could just say launch the weapon.
I think we all know he doesn't have that. I think I don't even know if his button works. The other day he was putting his hand on his chest on the Indian national anthem.
Well, Pat, working. I was a flight security controller at Malmstrom Air Force Base, Montana, at a nuclear missile base. There's two to launch a nuclear weapon.
Yeah.
There's so many stages, Pat, and then it goes down to the missileers who have to get authenticated.
No, because let me tell you what would happen if they did a nuclear. it wouldn't be what happened with Japan. It would be so many people involved. It would be back and forth.
Yeah.
Economy drops 50%. The market drops.
It's over.
Too many people are involved to not allow this from happening.
Well, that's
Anyways.
right. If a tactical weapon even gets used, the market drops 50%.
Yeah.
That's what the analysts believe.
Yeah.
But the point is, I'm not trying to be gloom and doom. I'm just saying Russia, with the biggest nuclear arsenal in a civil war with a major war on its border, we've got a crazy president. I'm just saying, I see all these pieces. People better be concerned.
No. And by the way, there's some rumors right now on Twitter talking about the fact that, Putin's left Moscow. I don't know if you saw that or not.
No, he did leave, yeah.
Yeah, Putin left Moscow.
Where did he head to?
He's got an armored train. They're not sure if the train left.
Alex, you know what would be interesting right now? How closely do you follow the doomsday clock?
Very closely. It's like 18 minutes to it.
Okay, I'd like to see where that's at right now.
It should have gone up. I think it was 18 minutes to last time I checked. That's the International Atomic Energy Atomic Scientists Group.
Right. How often do you check this?
I check it. I mean, it's usually in the news when it goes up, so I see it.
You're like, watch. This is my watch right here.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it was 18 minutes to before. Let's see where it's at now.
It is 100 seconds to midnight, apparently.
Oh my gosh! So I've never. Okay. They just changed it, and I agree with that because it was 18 minutes. They moved it from like 20 minutes to 18, and now it's a minute and a half or less.
What
could the average person do to even
explain to the average person what this
ahead.
means from 20 minutes to 18 minutes to 100 seconds to midnight.
And back up to where it was in 1980, 1990. So just give some context, right? He'll have some images.
Yeah.
It's 2 minutes to midnight. So 7
Basically,
minutes to midnight.
the clock is getting closer and closer and closer
14
and
minutes,
closer.
7 minutes. Go high,
midnight.
Rob.
Midnight means
Well, it
the
moves
world
up
is
and
over.
down. Like go to the early 1960s Cuban Missile Crisis. That was like they said was the worst.
2 minutes, 3 minutes, 12 minutes. So 2 minutes. So 3 minutes to midnight is 1949. 2 minutes to midnight is 1953. Does it go any further back or no, Rob? That's it. Okay, keep going up. Let's just say
This started right after World War II.
Keep going up. So we got 7 minutes, 4 minutes, 3 minutes, 6 minutes, 9 minutes, 14 minutes, 7 minutes, 10 minutes, 7 minutes, 5 minutes, 6 minutes, 5 minutes, 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 3 minutes. Keep going. 2 minutes. 100 seconds was 2020. 100 seconds 2021. It's still the same thing. 100 seconds 2022. So during COVID, and does it have it for today? During COVID, and now it's 100 seconds. It's not changed. Okay.
I think that's some kind of article. There's an actual clock to a press release. The point is, that's their feeling on it. I would just say this moves the clock towards it.
Has Doom's clock moved? Check to see, Rob, if the
That is scary,
Doomsday.
Well, let me ask you guys this question. If they get rid of Putin and they put a less hardline guy in, will that embolden the warmongers in D.C. to launch more crap? Because they want to go to war with China. And I don't like China, and I don't like Xi Jinping. I don't just like the Chinese people. But, I mean, I hate the communist Chinese, what they do and everything. But, I mean, they're really trying to sell a war now with China. This is getting nuts. And if they're able to defeat Russia by overthrowing Putin with a bunch of intelligence operations, I mean, this is just going to make them more hungry.
Well, let's see what happens here. I want to transition into what happened yesterday with Karine Jean-Pierre. If you want to play this clip, because this clip was, not a good day because nobody was giving up. Typically, it would be, somebody that will come and maybe they'll do it one time and everybody else will change because it's getting a little bit too uncomfortable. This is probably the most uncomfortable I've seen her maybe ever. Okay, if you want to play this clip,
she
go
looks
ahead,
like
Rob.
she's taking
What's the reference,
Yeah.
Pat? This is they're
And
asking her.
it's not something I want to see her do. So.
They're asking her
Yeah.
about Hunter's text about Chinese businessman going,
Yes.
my father is right here with me. You better send this. You better do this. And this is because Kirby just walked off before this, but this is her
Oh,
responding.
so do you have the Kirby clip to show before we go to this one?
I'll get the Kirby clip after this.
Yeah.
Okay, so go ahead and play this one here. Watch this.
And secondly, the president invited his son Hunter to the state dinner last night. I'm wondering if you could take us into the thinking and the decision-making of why the president decided to invite his son.
I'm just not going to get into family discussion, personal family discussion. As you know, Hunter is his son. I'm just not going to get into
Let me ask you this. If Hunter Biden wasn't the president's son, would he have invited someone who had just reached a plea agreement with federal prosecutors 2 days earlier?
A couple of things. Again,
not
that's
gonna
his
work.
son. He's a family member. It is not uncommon for family members to attend events at the White House. You could look at past presidents. I'm sure you have. So that is not uncommon. As it relates to anything related to Hunter, I'm
seen
just
the
not
new
going to
video of
respond to
Hunter?
it from here.
Yeah, we'll play that.
Can I follow up on that?
Okay. No, I just called in somebody. Go ahead.
Yeah. So Kirby wouldn't answer James's question, though. Are you going to answer the question? I mean, not a reasonable question to ask, whether the President of the United States was involved.
These are not Fox
as this
News guys.
message
I'm
seems to
shocked that they're
suggest,
asking.
in some sort of coercive conversation for business dealings by his son. Is that something, if he
The dam's
wasn't,
breaking.
then maybe you should tell us?
So here's
Plus,
the
they
thing,
want
and
Biden
I
out
appreciate
to
the
get
question. I believe my
Big
colleague
Mike in or
at
Newsom.
the White House
Yep.
Council
Big Mike.
has answered this question already, has dealt with this, has made it very clear. I just don't have anything to share outside of what my colleagues have shared.
American people wanna
and so
know.
I would refer you to him and the DOJ.
Another
Just
question
not gonna
coming,
comment
Beth.
from
What?
here.
It goes on and on.
What I can tell you is I know that my colleague has dealt with this. He addressed this at the White House Council. I just don't have anything else to share.
In the shakedown,
I just answered the question. I just answered the question.
She's a professional bullshitter. That's what she is.
I just Stephen.
She's getting mad.
Stephen, I just answered the question. I just said, it's not up to you how I answer the question. I just answered the question by telling you my colleagues at the White House Council has dealt with this, and I would refer you to
Another
them.
one coming.
Karine, can you just remind us what your colleague said from the White House Council so we have it?
I would refer you to them, and they will share their statement with all of you.
My question is about your statements from that podium. You've stated that the president stands by his comment from the 2020 campaign that he never once discussed his son's overseas business dealings with his son. And you stood at that podium and you reaffirmed that. Do you stand by your reaffirmation?
What I will say is nothing has changed. Nothing has changed, and I will leave it there. Anything else, I will refer you to the White House Council.
They're asking the right question. Though. Wait, keep
I
going.
just answered the question. You just asked me,
What a
does my
bad
statement
look.
change? I just told you nothing
No
has
wonder
changed.
people
That's
don't
answering your
trust the
question.
White House.
Another one coming.
Go ahead.
The
Go
president
ahead.
was there 2 days
Go ahead,
prior.
Stephen.
Look, Stephen.
I'm calling on your colleague right now. Go
Yo,
ahead.
thank you for
Thank you.
your.
To follow up on my colleague, is there anything that you can say with regard to
No matter who she goes
this
to, they won't
text
stop.
message and what the president's son was alleging? Was the president there or not?
I would refer you to my colleagues at
Yeah,
the White House
zero.
Council. They
No
have addressed
credibility.
this, and I refer you to them. Go ahead.
But that's like Neil deGrasse
Spoken
Tyson.
to the president about this? Have you asked him
And
whether
this-
he
this
was
is-
there with his
They
son
won't
on
debate.
July
They can't
3rd?
debate.
This
This
is
is not a conversation
horrible. You
that
know.
I've had with the president. Again, I would
Okay,
refer you
pause
to
it
the
for a
White House.
second, and I want to finish this. Let me tell you why
Respect
this
to
is
the
horrible. Let me tell you why this is
journalists doing their
horrible.
job.
Here's why it's horrible. Because, okay, flip it and say, well, the same thing happened with Kellyanne, McEnany, or et cetera, et cetera. No, the difference is this is liberals, Republicans, left, right. Every single outlet wants to know the same exact thing. And she keeps giving the same answer. Matter of fact, finish it up real quick. I want to watch the whole thing.
It's almost done.
And then go to Kirby right after that. Go ahead. And then we'll go to the Hunter clip.
House Council.
Do you plan to have that conversation with the president?
No.
Did the president speak with the attorney general at all
I
last
can't.
night? at the state dinner?
I cannot say if the president had a conversation with the attorney general last night. What I can refer you to is the White House counsel's office as it relates to the allegations. They've already addressed this. This is something for them to deal with. I refer you to the Department of Justice on anything else if you don't want to speak to the White House counsel's office.
And there was reporting earlier in the week that after the plea agreement was reached by Hunter Biden, that the president felt relieved that that part of it was behind him. Is that true? Can you speak
I can't
to his
speak to that.
mindset?
I cannot speak to the president.
Now go to
Again, I
Kirby.
would
Now go to
refer-
Kirby, and then we'll watch the.
Yeah.
Go to Kirby.
Pathetic loser.
Yeah, watch this here.
Look how smug
I
he is.
hate this
Yeah.
guy. I would punch him in the face if I could.
The House Ways and Means Committee yesterday released documents, their authenticity nowhere challenged. That included a July 2017 WhatsApp message
Yeah, look to the
sent
side.
by Hunter Biden to Henry Zhao, a Chinese Communist Party official, which stated in its entirety, and I quote, "I am sitting here with my father, and we would like to understand why the commitment made has not been fulfilled. Tell the director that I would like to resolve this now before it gets out of hand, and now means
director of
tonight. And
intelligence.
Z,
Yep.
if I get a call or text from anyone involved in this other than you, Zhang, or the chairman, I will make certain that between the man sitting
chairman.
next to me
The man
and every
sitting next to
person
me.
he knows, and my ability to forever hold a grudge, that you will regret not following my direction. I am sitting here waiting for the call with my father," unquote. So just a couple of questions about this. First, Does this not
So
undermine the president's claim during the 2020 campaign and the reaffirmations of that claim by his 2 press secretaries since then, that he never once discussed his son's overseas business dealings with him?
No, and I'm not going to comment further.
Yeah, of course you're not, because you're a snake.
I'm not. James, let me save you some. Let me save you some breath. If you're going to ask about this, I am not addressing. I know you do more than I'd like you to have. I am not going to address this issue from this podium.
It's
I'm
like,
just
okay,
not
can't
gonna do it.
do that.
All right.
I'm not going to do
Where
it.
was the president?
Yeah, look, get the hell out of there, you rat.
Thanks,
Get out of
guys.
there,
Have a great
snake.
weekend.
I mean,
Look at her. Look at her. She's disgusted.
No, she
because
knows
they're
she's next.
asking
She knows she's next. She's like, okay,
Yeah,
I'm
right.
next. Come on.
Guys, while Russia's collapsing, this is the collapse. But think about this. In fact, it never got a lot of traction. When the Hunter Biden thing came out like 3 years ago, right before the election, we played the audio. You can find this where you can type in Hunter Biden talks about his Chinese spy handler. He's like, Dad, I haven't talked in 3 months to the head of Chinese intelligence. He's worth $25 billion. He's given us millions. I think they may have gotten him. We're not in control of the Chinese communists. What are we going to do, Daddy? I mean, there's audio of him. He saved audio messages he sent his dad, and this got like no attention at the time. Yeah, I'm telling you can pull these up. So there's audio of stuff like this.
Do you know what CNN did yesterday too? You know CNN, because they have to spin it, right, Pat? They said, oh, what are the dates? Hunter was on crack cocaine. You can't blame him he probably made that up because he was on crack cocaine.
How
CNN,
appropriate.
What
is
a
a
great
recent video that's come up for Hunter? What's the most recent thing that came up
He
about
was
him?
flipping out yesterday about 10% for the big guy. He was the bag man for his dad.
Yep.
And that's the whole point.
He's the most untouchable crackhead on the planet. You know that? He could do crack, have videos with underage girls.
Have you
doing
seen his
whatever he
dad say when he was a senator, if you're black and you get caught with cocaine, you get 5 years in jail? It's right there. You got to play this.
Yo, this is Mr. Not Racist for all you people that voted for him. Look at him.
If you have a piece of crack cocaine, no bigger than this quarter that I'm holding in my hand, $1/4 of $1.
Look at the president's
We
son.
passed a law through the leadership of Senator Thurmond and myself and others, a law that says if you're caught with that, you go to jail for 5 years. You get no probation. You get nothing other than 5 years in jail.
Unless you're my
Judge
son.
doesn't have a choice. Under our forfeiture statutes, the government can, take everything you own. Everything from your car to your house, your bank account, not merely what they confiscate in terms of the dollars from the transaction that you just got caught engaging in. They can take everything. I don't care why they become a sociopath. We have an obligation to cordon them off from the rest of society. They are in jail. Away from my mother.
Away from my mother.
Our family. So I don't want to ask what made them do this. They must be taken off the street.
Yep. Rules for thee and not for me. He's a scumbag.
Meanwhile,
The
he's
whole
the
family's a
go-between with a Chinese communist.
Yeah.
I mean, take Swallowswell, take Feinstein. They all had like Chinese.
Swallow,
communists.
he was dating Fang Fang, or what was her name?
These are operatives in their operations.
Spies. They were dating spies, bro. It's unbelievable.
But you know what I gotta say credit for, guys. We're making progress because people are asking the question. Now, this leads me to the next question with you, Alex. Is okay. So, did you see Newsom on Hannity? Did you see how he did?
I didn't.
I think he did very well. I think
American Psycho, slick as hell.
I think he did. I think he did very, very well. If you're a Democrat, Newsom was 10 times more presidential than Biden was. And it's not even close, okay? So for him to have the audacity to go to Fox's Best Today, which is Hannity today, not Tucker, but Fox's Best Today, Hannity, he goes and sits with them and he hangs and he pushes back with Hannity. So from your perspective, you made a comment earlier about Newsom. Is this the reason why these guys are asking a question? Are they kind of trying to corner Biden for him to step out so Newsom can go run? Is it going to be a Newsom DeSantis, Newsom Trump? What is this going to happen here?
Patrick, I'm so glad you brought that up because I have this problem with not hitting the most obvious thing. You're absolutely right. That's it. They're getting ready to take out the garbage with Biden. I think they'll probably kill him. or he'll die in his sleep, or he'll have
fall down some stairs,
or be drugged or whatever, or at least be in a coma very soon. And I've got very high level sources that got people dug in the Democratic Party. Roger Stone's totally dialed in. He was on my show yesterday, and he said they're crazy enough that they're thinking, this is what Democrats are saying right now. Okay, Big Mike, Michelle Obama, and then VP Newsom or Newsom, but Obama is. He's the real president right now, third term, elected.
We have a video.
He's now coming back out and saying, I'm involved now. So, yeah, they're getting ready to get rid of Biden. That's the only reason. Those reporters are all on a leash. None of them would ever ask a question for the 2.5 years. Suddenly, they're all attacking.
Yep.
It's because they've been let off the leash because Biden was supposed to, like he said right before he won the election, remember he said, well, if I don't do what I'm told, I'll probably just develop some weird disease and resign. Remember that quote?
Yep.
He said it multiple times, letting them know, hey, I'm your man. Well, his brain was still there. Remember the deals then. But according to Roger Stone and other sources, and Roger's dead on, he talks to some of the high-level Democrats. Jill Biden is telling him, don't leave. She likes the power, and he's told them F off. In fact, now he's not even following Obama's orders.
You think so?
Oh, no, I mean, oh yeah.
Jill's in charge.
Jill's in charge because he didn't know who he is. I mean, she literally, remember he walked out of the White House, he said, my butt's been wiped. I was told by the NYPD and Secret Service a year and a half ago when he went, remember he kept showing up late and changing clothes like 3 times? Mm-hmm. That when he gets mad, when he goes in these weird, because they get him on speed and a bunch of stuff to roll him out and hope it's okay, and it's not now. But when he gets mad, he takes a big dump in his drawers. I'm serious, okay? You've got him saying my butt's been wiped. So that goes on.
He did say it. I've seen the video.
Can we fact check?
Yeah,
so Alex claimed that he said that he would develop. Biden said that he would develop some sort of cognitive disease and resign if he didn't follow the plan.
Let's see.
And here's the clip.
Let's see.
But all kidding aside,
the first lady to be told me she holds them for you.
Yes, she does. But not with she and Kamala have become friends. Yeah. But all kidding aside, it's a matter of the thing. We are simpatico on our philosophy of government and simpatico on how we want to approach these issues that we're facing. And so I don't have, and when we disagree, it'll be just like, so far it's been just like when Barack and I did. It's in private. She'll say, I think we should do A, B, C, or D. And I'll say, I like A, don't like B and C. Mm-hmm. And let's go, okay. And I told Barack, if I reach something where there's a fundamental disagreement we have based on a moral principle, I'll develop some disease and say I have to resign.
Bingo.
We don't have that. We haven't, and we discussed at length.
It's your face.
Our views on.
Yeah, and Alex, have you because he said this multiple times.
But look how much he's declined in 3 years.
Oh, that's horrible.
I mean, he's a little daughter, but he is gone.
Yeah, but he wasn't even there
it's
then.
Not when milk's
Yeah,
a
he
little,
wasn't there.
you know, when milk kind of tastes a little
You're
bad, but then later it's like cottage cheese and just you open it, ugh. I mean, he's now a rotting carton of milk.
And Alex, how many times have you heard him say, the president of the United States, hey, I can't, I got to get out of here. They told me I can't do this, or they told me I can't say that.
No, but he found that clip I forgot about. There's another one where he says, look, if I'm not doing what they want, I'll just get a disease and resign. He said it at least twice. So he said it in the current context like a year ago or something. So
Rob, is this it or no?
This is the clip where
he says
the president talks about his butt being wiped.
Go ahead.
What?
Must it be reconciliation?
What must be what?
My butt's been wiped.
Pathway for citizenship.
There needs to be a pathway for citizenship.
No, it's not fake. We got it on Fox.
Can we show? You nailed this. You were talking about
What did
Obama.
He actually say?
No, guys, I don't want to
get distracted. I'm asking the question. Let me just ask the question. Here's the question. The question is, Newsom, DeSantis, Newsom, Trump, Biden, Trump, what's going to end up happening?
Well, I mean, Trump was 5-6 points ahead of Biden until he got indicted, and now he's like 15 to 20 in scientific polls. It's a spectrum. He's in a bunch of national polls of Republican voters. He is 57 on the low to 72 points ahead. I mean, the whole field, Chris Christie, all of them, your governor here, DeSantis, they are getting 30, 35 points. And then Trump gets all the rest. So, and the more they indict him, like I remember when they indicted him again a few weeks ago, they go, well, the New York indictment of Alvin Bragg, that made him go up, but this time people are going to turn on him. No, he went up like 5-10 more points after that. So I guess if they indict him like 18 more times, he'll have like 99% with Republicans. I mean, people know that they're telling him, like you got a dog, it's a sweet dog, but even if it's a Labrador Retriever, you start trying to take something away from it, it's going to tug a war with you. And they're telling you can't have Trump, can't have Trump. And it's just the more they do it, the people are getting madder and madder, like, I want this. And it's just insane. So it's the unstoppable object.
Unmovable object.
Unmovable object comes into contact with the unstoppable force, and it just explodes. And so, I mean, they intend to indict him on January 6th for the electors. They're trying to cook it up. This is a 20-page article 3 days ago in Washington Post that I commanded the attack on the Capitol with Trump. Completely insane. Didn't even talk to Trump for like a year before that. Tried to stop people going to the Capitol when I got there. We had a whole stage booked with the Capitol Police and everything for him on the northeast corner. And we get there, there's no police, no one. They just left us high and dry and then set us up. Now they have congressional reports that D.C. police were the ones dressed up breaking in and then getting the idiots to go in behind them. I mean, congressmen have said that. Congressman has seen, they're now releasing the footage of the D.C.
Are they going to succeed? Are they going to succeed to prevent him from running?
I mean, they're succeeding in a civil war right now in Russia. I mean, yeah, the globalists hijacked the most powerful country in the world with all our ingenuity and all our money and all our power, and the world's in deep trouble. And again, it's not like I'm saying China or Russia are good either. It's just a monstrous situation. And if people don't get serious and get out of their comfort zones, I think they're going to demonize him, indict him. And then I think they'll blow his airplane up. I really, at a gut level, believe they're going to kill Trump.
Who's this? Trump?
I believe the deep state establishment will murder him. I mean, I believe he's going to steadfast go through all this. He'll be 30 points ahead in the primaries. Nothing's going to stop him. And then they just, he dies of a heart attack because they poison him or they blow his airplane up. And I think, and Trump, by the way, has talked to Roger and others and said, I'm ready to die. I'm committed. I'm going all the way. So
you think if they, you're saying they're going to do that, they would have already done it? Like, why haven't they already done it?
Because that turns him into a martyr, and they'd rather assassinate the person. They saw what JFK did to him. I mean, this will be 50. I mean, look, they are not, the higher ups and some of their smarter ones are not stupid. They're like, if we kill him, it'll cause way bigger problems down the road. Don't do it. But before they let him get in charge and prosecute them, which Trump said he will, he goes, I'm getting in. I'll be destroyed, and you'll be destroyed with me, or they'll be destroyed. It's a death battle. This isn't like some cage fight with Zuckerberg. And everybody's like, oh, Zuckerberg and Elon Musk, biggest thing ever. Yeah, great. Two modern emperors, tech titans. When Rome was collapsing, they had emperors as gladiators. The movie Gladiator is actually, again, a composite of a bunch of true stories. That really happened. And the whole point is, while we're all watching this stupid stuff in the Submarine and the Gladiators, literally the president who I believe won the election, I'm not supposed to say that. He barely lost. Trump, now to have them put him in jail so he can't vote for him or whatever, it's just not going to fly. It's not going to happen. And so, but at the same time, you saw what Comey and others said on TV. Well, whatever we do, we got to stop him. Yep. He can't be allowed in because he'll put us in prison. And remember, you can pull this clip up. Biden said last December, like December 13th, as I played the clip last week on my show, he said repeatedly, Biden says we will not allow Trump to be president again. And he says, we'll use whatever we have to with law enforcement and the Constitution to make sure he's not president. And he just laughs arrogantly. He's like, people are like, hey, what about Hunter? He's like, it's just, it's lunacy. But time's running out. So they still have the power. They're still the executive in control. So if you're the guy with the doomsday button and you can hit it, you think you win, but you blow yourself up at the same time.
Yep.
So they've already destroyed themselves. The only question is, can they take us with them?
Alex, what do you say about some of the people that are saying the left is too calm during all this, and they're planning something? Let's just say during the election year, another pandemic is probably going to hit, which they've been warning us about that. Even the WHO, Biden, he said it. Biden said, and you can find that, Rob. And I quote: "There's going to be a second pandemic." It's like he's a psychic. There's an internet apocalypse they're talking about, or even like a staged alien invasion. Do you feel like something?
Well, you just said it. Other than that's a great question. How do they stop Trump?
Yep.
He dies in his sleep as they poison him, or he naturally dies, which I don't think will happen. The guy's as strong as a horse. That Scottish, German blood he's got going there. And then, so there's that. And absolutely, a stock market crash, an EMP that knocks out the power for a few months. Oh, we can't have it right now. Another virus through the mail-in thing.
Keep us home.
In fact, the UN says imminent virus coming. Yeah, I think, there's a lot of ways for them to skin the cat. But I'm telling you, these indictments aren't working.
They're not.
So you're saying, based on what you're saying it's still going to be Newsom, Trump, Is that what you're saying? Like,
Newsom's
come next year.
Newsom's the serious candidate, and who they now admit. You see him getting out of deep freeze, rolling him out, getting him ready. But they're thinking about the wild card. Obama has warmed to Newsom, and right now there's discussions. This is real. There's discussions of Michelle Obama as the president and Newsom, or should it be Newsom president, Michelle Obama vice president?
That would be, by the way, that's going to be tough to beat.
It's a powerhouse.
That's going to be tough to beat. So, what do you think
They're
about?
both incredible men.
What are your thoughts on DeSantis?
Alex, can I just?
I'm just joking. Joan Rivers made a joke about it too.
She did. Yeah, she died 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
What do you think about DeSantis? What are your thoughts on DeSantis?
I think DeSantis, when he was running his own show 6 months ago, was heartfelt, doing great things, standing up to stuff, really doing a great job for Florida. Then he started getting with Republican strategist Karl Rove and Jeb Bush, and they're now advising him. Now he's following a script, and he's not being authentic. And as soon as they indicted Trump, Trump went 30 points ahead of him. So, I mean, DeSantis needs to know he's being kamikazed into Trump, and that the system knows he's not going to beat him. And they're not going to let DeSantis have it either. And so DeSantis needs to understand that he should get behind Trump and reprieve himself. I mean, Trump's not perfect, but now that they're trying to take my right to vote for him, and the fact that he's got such balls in doing this, I would be a coward because they'd come after me because of the support. I've been told, stop supporting Trump and all your problems will stop. I mean, I've been told that in mediations, okay? Not supposed to talk about that, but I mean, it's literally stop this, back off, and we'll leave you alone or you're done. I'm like, hey, at a certain point, I can't just roll over and be a coward. So you've made me be all in for Trump. I mean, I just can't do it as a man. I can't be told, I mean, down in Texas where the mafia never did too well, because you tell them to come tell about somebody there, I'm going to take over your business, guy just pulls a gun out, and shoot you. You may send more guys get me later, that's great. My kinfolks are coming for you. So I just can't, it's not even like a macho thing. I can't be pushed around. I'm going to die then. That's okay. But the point is, you're going to die too. At a certain point, these guys got to figure out, you'll fire your musket, but I'll run you through. The Iron Maiden's, first opening line of the trooper. You'll fire your musket, but I'll run you through. So,
Alex, let me kind of bring this in for a second. You've made some opinions, some claims, some thoughts, some jokes, some hyperbole, all that. My opinion, and then I'm going to ask it too. I don't think Barack Obama is running the country right now. My opinion. Well, I don't think Michelle Obama is a man. I don't think she was ever a man. My opinion. I don't think Gavin Newsom is going to be that dude that's running. He has done nothing but endorse Biden. Okay, I'm going somewhere with this, right? At the same time, I don't think they're going to kill Trump. I think he's going to be that dude on stage. I think he's going to probably be the nominee. We'll see what happens with DeSantis. We'll see what happens. I don't think he's going to kill in his sleep. I'm just, you know how you say sometimes you just got to face reality and see what's in front of your face. I think at the end of the day, it's going to be a Biden-Trump presidential debate. And then here's my question. Don't you want that? Don't you?
Yes, I'd rather that be entertaining.
Okay, that's my freaking point. Don't you want that? If Biden is as nuts, lost, delusional as people say, don't you want Trump to expose that on a national stage and prove everybody right?
But of course, I don't, and they may as a sick joke let him debate a vegetable and then still steal it from him.
No, because they're going to debate, and then the world is going to see whether or not Biden is competent or not, because you could say whatever you want about Trump. He hasn't lost a step. He still has energy. He's still there. Yep. Whether you think he's a criminal, whether you think he's a hero and a deity, he hasn't lost a step. Biden clearly has. But don't you want that? Don't you want that basically, that rematch to basically?
100% would rather than not.
Want?
Well, let me just tell you this. And I said this before it came out, and he said it on Joe Rogan's show, that he's afraid the CIA will kill him, and they killed his dad and his uncle. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. doesn't want to give speeches out in the public now because he knows that's real. And let me tell you, Trump knows there's plans to kill him. And if they can get some crazy to do it, plausible deniability, they will. And they shot Ronald Reagan, and then Hinckley Jr. was having dinner with the Bushes in Colorado 3 days before. I mean, this is serious. Look it up, Denver Post. So this is
Rob. Look it up. Did you hear what he said?
What was it, Denver Post?
Hinckley Jr.
Well, it was Hinckley's brother and dad were having dinner, but he was also best friends with the Bushes, CIA. Hinckley's having dinner with Bush's week of Reagan being shot. Anyways, they let him out of prison recently. What I'm getting at here is that this is from real politicos. This is from Roger Stone. Okay, I mean the guy got Trump to run. Okay, and what I'm telling you is that they say you see all these puff pieces about Michelle Obama and Gavin Newsom and the rest of it. Biden could die at any time. I mean, he could just fall over. So I'm telling what real people are telling me. It doesn't mean they're totally right. Okay. And as for Michelle Obama, of course, Michelle Obama is a beautiful woman. and of course, no, I'm serious when I say this. Of course, Joan Rivers was just joking. Have you seen the Joan Rivers clip?
Joan Rivers said it, and then she died, 2 weeks later?
Because she was fucking 88 years old.
I don't know about that. Well, the timing is perfect. The timing is perfect. But can I say one thing?
Okay, Alex Jones, you've been called a conspiracy theorist. Meet your master right there.
Congratulations.
Meet your master
I'll
right
take
there.
it. Well, you just said that Obama, you don't think Obama's running the country? This was Obama on Stephen Colbert, the leftist hack show, 2 years ago. Can you play what he said about the presidency? Go ahead, Rob.
And what you know now, do you wish like you had a third term?
Be right back. 2 seconds.
Yeah. And I used to say, you know what? If I could make an arrangement where I had a stand-in, a front man or front woman, and they had an earpiece in, and I was just in my basement in my sweats looking through the stuff, and then I could sort of deliver the lines, but somebody else was doing all the talking and the ceremony. I'd be fine with that.
I'd be totally fine with that.
Vinny, as a comedian, as a professional comedian, the number one Assyrian comedian in the world, you have the ability to decipher satire, joking. Do you think he was actually coming out and saying, yes, this is my third term? Come on, man.
Adam, I think there's a little truth in everything, especially as a comedian. But let's just be honest with each other. Do you actually think that Joe Biden right now is actually making the decisions and tweeting and doing everything that he's doing? Be honest with me.
I think he has a team around him that is helping him make the decisions.
Making decisions. Have you ever heard in your life a president say, "Oh, I can't do this because they told me that I can't speak, or they told me I can't do this.
Show me
I'm
the
going to get in
quote.
trouble."
Show me the link.
Rob, could you show?
Do I think that Biden is a strong president?
No.
Do I think he's all there? No.
No, not strong. Is he making any decisions?
No, but when you say, wouldn't you like? Of course I'd like to see that.
Could you find that?
I'm just telling you, they are. Why do you think here's the key. It's just what Patrick said earlier. Why do you think they're allowing everybody to attack Biden now when they covered it all up before? Because now they want him to step down. The Democrat system is telling him step down. And they can create all this new energy and about who it's going to be. They're telling him to go.
We're going to find out if he actually is the nominee, because then that will be the inaccurate.
I mean, just so you know, and I'm not bragging, because you guys have dinner with high-powered people and talk to everybody too, okay?
We have dinner with guys like you, too.
No, but what I'm saying is, this is directly from inside the Trump camp at the highest levels and directly from inside the Democratic Party. So they do not want Biden. They are seriously talking about this.
As they should.
Yeah.
His approval
ratings. I'm not making a prediction. I'm not making a prediction. I'm saying they don't like what's going on.
Nobody does, Alex. Of course, his approval ratings are in the doghouse. He's 80-something years old. Yeah. Of course, they don't want him to run. Okay, but he's making a decision to run. I mean,
he's not making any decisions. Let's be honest.
Well, but it shows that even though he is a vegetable, he wants power, kind of like Yeltsin didn't want to leave. And it's the same thing. There's power struggles, and power struggles are dangerous.
The difference was Boris Yeltsin was in his early 60s at that point, I want to say, in Russia.
Well, he drank 5 bottles of vodka a day when he should only drink 3.
Next question here. Twitter. Why are you not back on Twitter? I saw, obviously Roger Stone's back on Twitter. You got Trump's back on Twitter. You got OJ's on Twitter. You got the Kremlin's on Twitter. You got the leader of Iran. You got Taliban's on Twitter. Why is Elon? I mean, Tate's got back on Twitter. There's not a lot of difference between what you say versus what somebody's...
That's a key, and I think Tate should be on there so he can defend himself. I mean, everybody...
But why are you not on Twitter?
Well, it's a digital utility. I'll answer that question, but yes, Andrew Tate is charged, with no evidence, as we've seen, of sex trafficking, raping women with no evidence. Okay, so he deserves to be on Twitter. Elon Musk will not let me on there because he says I questioned whether a mass shooting happened or not. Now, I never did the stuff they said. I never sent people to people's houses. I never peed on graves. But they were allowed to say that in court because I was defaulted. They could say whatever they wanted. And great folks, love them to death, and I pray for them seriously. That said, he understands that I was demonized. Let me explain this. This is key. It came out in Congress that U.S. intelligence agencies were running the censorship, running the surveillance, running the control in the 2016, but they failed. And then in 2020, they were in control. In 2022, they were successful. That's in 3-day long hearings, all of it. I was picked out as a populist to destroy my movement, but it was bigger than me to be able to shut everybody else down. And so this is not an exaggeration. I get Google alerts, and I don't even follow them anymore because it's just too much. There were some days in the last 5 years where it would say 10,000 Google alerts, okay? And 10% would be this woman named Alex Jones, this big BBC lady, she's a popular host. If she has like a baby or something, some days I go, okay, a third of that's her. Thank God it's not all me. But I'm talking most days it'd be 1,000 hits, okay? Because they'd put one AP article out, it'd be put in every newspaper around the country. So some days it'd be 20, 30,000. So there was thousands of TV programs. They would put a report out, and it would be on ABC, NBC, CBS, all of the local stations. I would routinely turn on the local Spectrum channel to see the weather, and routinely it was me being attacked on the local Time Warner owned, has 24-hour cable in Austin run by Time Warner. It's like local CNN. That was not about me. That was about speech is bad. Here's this horrible person, there's horrible things, to mass shooting, dead kids, just dead kids, mass shooting, dead kids. Take your guns, take your speech, take this guy's a monster, because I was the archetype of what they want to destroy. Elon is playing 3D chess. He really is. Trump isn't. And Trump's a great guy, but Elon's smarter when it really comes to full spectrum stuff. Elon knows they charged up this giant battery of hundreds of thousands of syndicated articles, because one gets that 1,000 times or more. I mean, we're talking thousands of original articles, thousands of original shows. I mean, I've been on PBS that I know of like 50 times. Just program. Just Nova, blah, just everything, just every channel, NPR every day. Blah, blah, blah. To charge me up as the Antichrist and to put all this energy into how I'm the worst person in the world, what's demonizing the people and independent media, so they can then use me later and go, oh, look, Alex Jones likes RFK. Oh, look, Alex Jones says Peter Hotez is bad too, to always say like, oh, he doesn't like Biden. So the devil doesn't like Biden, he must be good. It wasn't about me. It was about making me this image that they stole my identity to own and control. So Elon knows I'm this charged up bomb with this big hand grenade. So he can free the captives. They already took half his advertising. He's barely hanging on. They're coming in with him with the ESGs, as you said last night. He may not win this. If he brings me on, they can go, look, he brought Satan on. So he can free everybody but me, the Taliban, everybody else, that's fine. I understand it. And I'm being honest here now that I'm more sophisticated. I understand that. It's like Joe Rogan loves me. We hang out, all this stuff. And he's like, yeah, no, I can do all this stuff and expose the New World Order and win and still get criticized, but hang on. I have you come say it, then it's destructive. So I understand. Robert F. Kennedy, same thing, And so I understand, and it's great. Robert F. Kennedy is Alex Jones now. Joe Rogan is Alex Jones now. That was always my goal. They're not me. They now see the same perspective. They're now questioning. They now are curious. They now are studying. They're going to find the same thing I found and more. And so, fine. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. won't come on. Joe Rogan, fine. All that. So we go get dinner. That's what I care about. Hanging out at this great comedy club. He's my friend. That's what matters. Known him 25 years. And so that's what this is all about, is winning and defeating these people. So I'm owning that I am the black sheep, and that the real devil says I'm the devil. What's that tell you? I'm just a regular guy that loves freedom, that discovered all this stuff growing up around it, and I care. And so that's it. But it's a great question. Why am I not on Twitter? There's your answer, and thanks for the time. Nobody ever shuts up for me. You got to come on my show. I'm going to shut up for you. Promise you're going to come on. Valuetainment.
Let me tell you, I think you need to be on there, especially the way Elon's got it. I think I don't know why he hasn't. I don't even know if he's been asked the question. Why has anyone?
Oh, he came out and said, "I deserve to be murdered."
Who said that?
Elon Musk said, I should be murdered for what I did.
Oh, about Sandy Hook.
Yeah, he said, what Alex Jones did, attacking those people when their children died, is the worst thing on earth. Not being Taliban, not sex trafficking, that's all fine. I mean, seriously. He said, Alex Jones is the worst. I will never reinstate him. It would be, as Christ said, he should have a stone tied around his neck and thrown into the ocean.
He said those words? Elon Musk?
He tweeted it.
He says, my firstborn child. Let me look at that. Go a little up there. Yeah, there you go. My firstborn child died in my arms. I felt his last heartbeat. I have no mercy for anyone who would use the death of children for gain, politics, or fame. Interesting.
But then he went on to say, he quote Jesus, it'd be better for Alex Jones,
But that was before he bought Twitter?
No, that's right when he got it. Here, go back up. He said, there's another tweet where he says, he quoted Christ. He said it would be better for him to have a millstone. He deserves to have a millstone tied around his neck.
Wow. But you have high praise for Elon. You just said that he's way smarter than Trump.
That was
even.
great what he did to him. He's like, you're right. He's Satan. I won't bring him back. I'll bring everybody. He just played their game. That's 3D chess. I love it. Thank you, Elon. Beautiful job.
Who do you put in the class of people that are fighting for freedom? Whether you say Tucker, whether you say Elon, whether you say these names, who would you put in that category? Who else would you put in that category?
I mean,
so we got Rogan, we got Elon, we got. Who else would you put in that category?
I got mad at Joe Rogan 6 years ago, because I've known Joe, since for 25 years. I mean, before he was doing Fear Factor, right when he started UFC, he'd done news radio, and we've partied. I mean, we have, like you've seen the movie Hangover?
Yeah.
We've actually done that. I don't, it's like the most interesting man in the world. I don't often do drugs, but when I do, it's with Joe Rogan. Literally. So me and Joe have done some stuff. And so I love Joe, and I always knew there was something about him. People were like, why do you love that Joe Rogan? I was like, he's a smart. I told people 20 years ago, I said, that guy is super smart. Because let me tell you, that guy, he sits there and plays dumb and does all that stuff, and it's all calculated. And he's a good guy. He knows all this stuff. We talk every day. They get mad at him about that. We text constantly, every day, and we send people articles and stuff. And that's why I got mad at him when he was kind of going to the liberals about 6 years ago and kind of playing games. They were kind of recruiting him, and I was just like, Joe, knock it off, stop. You know about all this. And then he got more hardcore again. And he went the right direction, and then they did the lockdowns. And he said, "Screw these people; it's all true. I'm going after them." And now they've got Alex Jones that's more controlled, and more controlling himself, not controlled by them. They got Alex Jones 2.0. You got Tucker Carlson; they mess with him. Alex Jones 2.0. Joe Rogan, Alex Jones 2.0. All I want's victory. And I'm actually proud of the fact that I've been instrumental in waking up Joe Rogan. He listened to my show a lot, 20-something years ago. He called in on my show on 9/11. And said, it's irresponsible, Alex, that you're saying the U.S. government blew the buildings up. I saw them blow it up. I saw the local news say, we're going to blow up Building 7. It was on the news that day. But back then, stuff wasn't archived. So it wasn't until 4 years later, all the news put their archives online when storage got better. And you can pull up Building 7. We're going to blow up Building 7, and we watch it come down. It's on CBS News, ABC News, CNN.
We're going to pull it. That's what Larry Silverstein said.
Alex, later on PBS, he said he blew it up. So Joe, used to call me up and go, hey, man, he knew I meant what I was saying, but he just wouldn't believe how bad it was. And then I'd say about 18 years ago, he was really awake, sort of studying it, and then he didn't want to believe it anymore, and then he kind of got out of it about 10 years ago. He kind of did some shows debunking conspiracies, a TV show. That kind of turned to the dark side for a while. And then I started getting in his face about it, calling him up and stuff, and saying, "Hey, man, you're not stupid. I told him, I said, I'm really admire you. I know he's a great guy. I said, you're a punk. You're acting like a punk. And I said, if you keep doing it, I'm gonna go in there and start attacking your ass. And then we kind of went back and forth and stuff, so I went crazy. And I went too far, and I apologize to Joe. But, now I'm just so proud of him.
Alex, let me read you one quote from Rogan. There's tons out there, but to kind of sing your praise here, he said, he's actually speaking with Lex Friedman. He goes, people think he's hilarious. It's fucked up what happened with Sandy Hook and all that. But here's the deal with Alex Jones. He's right more often than he's wrong. And he basically gave you praise that, people here, let me kind of give you another thing. You ever hear what Dave Chappelle said about when people call people crazy? He was sitting there with the Screen Actors Guild guy, the one guy, and he goes, he's talking about when Martin Lawrence was going crazy and Blue Streak and all that. The term crazy, here's the thing when you call somebody crazy, it's dismissive, right? You're basically, he's crazy, dismiss it, right? And it's basically saying, I don't understand that guy, he's just crazy.
He said, I'm not going to debate you, that's what it is.
It's a dismissive thing. The thing is that these people are not crazy, they're actually very strong. So when you hear Rogan defend you, even though that you've made some wrong decisions, you've actually owned up to your wrong decisions. When you hear people say, he's just freaking crazy, you're not crazy. You have strong opinions, and you believe what you say. So when you hear Rogan defend you, when you hear people call you crazy, how do you process all that? Are you crazy?
No, I'm not crazy, and I'm listening to your great question, and I could go 10 hours. My ride has an event they've got to get to. They're trying to make me leave, so let's just wrap up in 5 minutes, but I want to come back anytime, and I want to invite you guys to fly to Austin and do a show with me, and you can host out of there. We got a bunch of studios. We can take my logos off everything. We can put yours up. This facility's awesome. I love broadcasting from a vault. Look, I am crazy. And
continue, sir.
No, but I mean, everybody's crazy.
Yeah.
And anybody that tells you they're not crazy is even crazier. And so this is a crazy life on a weird planet with all this fantastic stuff. We're trying to figure it all out. And I kind of got crazy when I discovered all this stuff, where I got to where I thought everything was a conspiracy, and it's not. A lot of times it's just ineptitude or it's weirdness. But the globalists are trying to get control of the ESGs and the computers and AI because they do want to control it. And so, and they've got the most control of anybody. And I think the people should start having control about the choices we make and what we do. And that's why boycotting what you guys do and supporting the show, because it was popular the day you launched it, and I watched it a lot. But I mean, the last few years, and now you can see when something blows up, it goes like boom, boom. Now it's like exponential. So it grows from here to here. The first couple of years, and it goes like this. Then it goes 500 feet in the air, and you're now in that. Now you can see that trajectory. And I'm not kissing your ass. You can see it. It's exploding. And it's a good show. It deserves it, and it's one of the best podcasts out there. And so, I mean, people need to support what you're doing. They need to support free speech. They need to know that it takes courage to have Alex Jones on, and a lot of wimps don't do it. And so we're all big boys and girls. We should be able to actually hear what somebody says.
Yep.
I mean, they used to interview, people like Charlie Manson. That doesn't mean you agree with Charlie Manson. I'm not Charlie Manson. My point is, we need to really hear what somebody has to say. And the worst part about being deplatformed, I still have my hardcore great audience that listens every day at Infowars.com and on some radio stations around the country and other citizens, people can find it there. But the biggest thing is they can then misrepresent, including deep fakes. I've had a bunch of deep fakes done on me. Oh, I'll tell you this Tucker Carlson story real quick. I've had deep fakes done on me, and the guys, it's online. Look up Alex Jones, Tucker Carlson deep fake and play it. And I just talked to him that day, so I get another call. I'm in the CPA meeting, and but I'll tell that story in a second. The point is that you don't get to respond on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, CNN. The old days, you get attacked in the New York Times, they call you. No, it's all one way. So you're reading the New York Times saying he's a white supremacist, and I mean, I don't want to get into talk about my family and all this kind of stuff, but we're the opposite of that, okay? And it's very, the white supremacists made a big deal about it. Like, I married a lady whose mother's Jewish, which technically makes her Jewish. So I got three kids that see themselves just as Americans, and they're like, "Are we Jewish? Are we Christian? I guess we're Christian." And we like,
That's breaking news right there. Your kids are Jewish.
But the point is, the white supremacists. Well, I've said this many times. Are literally talking about how they want to kill my family all the time. So I get to be called a white supremacist in the New York Times for no evidence.
Yeah.
And then meanwhile, my kids, I guess technically could, commit a crime and run to Israel. The point is, I'm not ashamed of that. But then at the same time, I talked about it years ago and made all the Nazis come after me. I'm like, wow, this is what it's like to associated with the Jews. People literally want to kill you. This sucks. This is wrong. So, but then the media calls you a white supremacist, and it's just like, I'm a white supremacist, and I'm the white supremacist. Go look at white supremacist websites. I mean, they hate me more than almost anybody, because I won't make it all about, hating Jews or any other group all day. I want to get everybody for freedom and win. So I'm sitting there about a month ago, or 5-6 weeks ago, in a CPA meeting at like 5 o'clock. I just actually talked to Tucker that day, and all of a sudden, it was because he'd just been fired, a few weeks before, and all of a sudden, hey, it's Tucker, can you talk? And by the way, they spoofed his number, and the guy went online and bragged about all this. So the numbers, Tucker Carlson's number. So you had to get that number.
This is it?
That's it.
This is fit.
Play the clip?
I don't know if this is it. I'm about to play it on the show. Go ahead. One of the most bizarre things that ever happened to me in my life happened yesterday afternoon at about 5:45. I was sitting in an accounting meeting.
Oh, you're explaining it.
InfoWars accounting meeting. I mean, the guy, hit pause. In an office. Go to Twitter. Type in Alex Tucker Carlson. What's it called?
This is Twitter.
It's called, what's it called when they do that? It's a deep fake.
Deep fake?
Tucker Carlson, Alex Jones deep fake. So the point is, it's Tucker Carlson's voice, and they have his number. So it shows up, and he goes, "Are you all right?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Well, I want to, do all these sexual things to you." And I go, "Okay, this is not Tucker. This is AI." And then the guy goes,
"You have to play this. Can you find it or no?"
Please.
It was all over the news. Type it into Google. Type in Alex Jones, Tucker Carlson deep fake, or prank caller AI deep fakes Tucker Carlson. Yeah, there it is. There it is. See, like Yahoo News. So. And then I called Tucker, and he goes, "Yeah, man, there's a lot more stuff than that going on. This is horrible." And then they discovered who he was before he came out.
Did you play it on that tweet? Did you play it on that video or no? Or you didn't play it?
No,
there,
that's
too?
the video of the guy that did it talking about me.
Okay, got it.
But it came out later, and then it was another murder because he said, I got this long conversation. I faked Jones out. No, I go, this isn't Tucker. This is an AI. Like 10 seconds in, and then he hangs up. But the point was, it's like Tucker going, I want to do this to you, I want to do that to you, and maybe it was a 40-second.
By the way, this is how conspiracy theories are. Because there was a rumor out there. I know you're not. Don't come at me. They're like, oh, Alex Jones, he's gay, right? I'm like, what are you talking about? Why would you what? Yeah, I heard about him at the Bohemian thing, and then the talk. I'm like, he's not. He's married with kids.
Yeah, no.
And he's like, no, I heard he was gay. It's like,
by the way, just so you know, the president of Microsoft, and we got to wrap up the podcast. We're 20 minutes over. The president of Microsoft, the president of Google, every one of them, they said the biggest threat they're concerned about moving forward is going to be AI and deepfakes.
Yeah.
Deepfakes to be specific, okay? Deepfakes to be specific.
Let's explain. Somebody calls your mother up, and it's your voice, and says, hey, Mom, I really need $1,000. Will you please give me the credit card?
Yep.
And Mom gives it to you.
Yep.
From your number.
They've already had people kidnap a girl or say they have her voice, call up and say, I'm kidnapped, Mommy, give me money.
Yep.
Sorry, I interrupted you, Patrick.
No, Rob, if you can find that, let's play it. If not, we got to finish the podcast.
I can't. The guy said he pulled it from online after he received
and
threats
nobody else has it.
from legal action from Tucker's
And you're
lawyers.
saying nobody else has
I can't
that.
find it. The only thing I can find is the clip of Alex talking about
Okay,
it.
well, then it's all good. Well,
Alex, I'm glad we got
Tucker
you that
had a pull.
whiskey. I'm glad we got you a sip of whiskey before you got it.
Listen,
brother.
Alex, this was, as usual, very, very entertaining. Different than part one. Part one was a different perspective. This one is, we covered a bunch of different stories. We're going to put the link to your book below, The Great Reset.
Please link to it at Infowars.com.
We'll do that as well. Rob, if you can put that below for people to be able to find it. I would say go follow Alex on Twitter, but unfortunately, Elon's not letting that happen right now. So go to Infowars.com to follow Alex's content.
Impressive. Please have me back.
I look forward to it. Thank you so much,
Thank you,
Alex.
sir.
Take care.
Alex Jones.
Take care, everybody. Have a
Love
great
you guys.
weekend. Bye-bye.